Hello and welcome, Overwatch fans. We are here. We are live, ready to get it going here for Berry Blast Day 3. I'm FBI Tugboat. I'm here with my man Asher Vok. Asher, how are we feeling on the day?
I'm doing pretty good for myself, but for the day I'm really excited because yesterday was a blast and even greater, but hopefully today should be even top that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like cashola on the line here on the day. They don't call it Money Sunday for no reason here, Asher Vok. We've had just a litany, a laundry list of fantastic Overwatch teams going forth and doing battle, and we got it down to our final three.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, as far as I know, over in Losers, we are going to be having Amplify and Bonzi buddies, and then waiting in Grand Finals, it's going to be LeftRightGnight, who managed to knock out plenty of teams on their way here. And going through winner's bracket, we have plenty of fighters, and Amplify, they also got knocked out and sent the Losers in the first place when in upper finals.
Yeah, so what we have seen, what LeftRightGnight has done, that's only one game they've even dropped, one single map they've dropped. That was Starburst, able to take a tasty map win there over. Now Amplified, the latest on the chopping block right there, also taking a victory off. LeftRightGnight will be met by the winners of Amplify and Bonzi Buddies. That's Bonzi Buddies.
Yeah, and Bonzi Buddies, interestingly enough, one team I am somewhat familiar with. Some people endemic to the California collegiate scene of Overwatch with them, but Losers Bracket was particularly tough because you had some people that were, of course, trying to claw, bite, and tear their way back in the winners. For some, it didn't work out too hot, but for Bonzi Buddies, managing to make it past some teams, including Pirates in Pajamas, Samsara, and then finally made it against P's and Q's in to Losers Finals to fight Amplify.
The big thing where my attention is drawn here, Asher Vok, is of course that Bonzi Buddies have been absolutely battling through this Losers Bracket, right? Went down there about as soon as they could. It has just been an absolute slobber knocker to get back here and into the Losers Finals. Of course, the the loser here will be playing against the fourth place, right, to determine positioning right here. No, excuse me, the loser here will get third. Fourth place already figured out. That's P's and Q's. That is P's and Q's right there, getting fourth. And unfortunately, not within the money. Speaking of, let's talk a little bit about what exactly is at stake here outside of undying honor and glory, Asher Vok.
Money is, if I remember correctly, because we went over this, I remember we were sitting here, is that first place, right, gets, if I'm not wrong, $2,000 Okay, there we
Absolutely.
go. I'm on the right track. Second, we'll manage to get 1,600, and then after that, it's going to be 600 for third place. So even if you end up knocked out of this, of course, you're not going to go home with just nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just to be clear, second place 1,400, third place 600 for a
There we
nice even
go.
round 4,000.
Okay.
Yes, 4,200 would be even better, but we'll go with 4,000 here on the day, Ashervok.
I mean, true, 4,000. I mean, let's be real here. It's not that bad. And considering we have some people and some teams who are in collegiate, I mean, that can go towards all sorts of things tuition, rent, whatever you can possibly think of. Maybe some nice Overwatch merch, because that one Junker Queen statue that I have seen, me personally, I would 100% have that on my desk.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All of the Overwatch merch and whatnot, and that's always personally something that I include in my post game interviews as well. Like, what exactly you need to be spending that cash on? Because it's always interesting. Gamers always have different answers as well, Ashervok.
I mean, true. I remember, gosh, one interview that I was in personally, because I had won some competition, and they asked, Ash, what are you going to buy? And I remember telling someone Funko Pops, and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what I want here. And they asked, I'm like, yeah, just give me one, maybe two. That would have been my answer in
There
this
you go.
one.
Absolutely love that. Hey, you gotta love what you gotta love, and this is a situation. You can go for it. Take all that cash, spend it on whatever you want. Spend it on whatever you want. Funko Pops, rent, anything in between there. Anything in between.
I mean, true. Me personally, as a college student, rent. But the Overwatch community, I mean, I've heard all sorts of wild stuff. I remember somebody saying, yeah, I'm just gonna get like a couple Winstons. What do you mean by that? Like the plush? It's like, yeah, maybe like 1, 2, 3 just hanging around in my background, which I've seen some of those and had someone who scalped me for about $300. I found out it only would have cost me 40.
Hate to see it. Hate to see it. Hey, was it a Winston worthwhile getting though? That's the question.
I mean, it is sort of, because then again, I remember what I got the Winston. I'm like, oh, there's probably just a small little Winston, $400 worth it. And then somebody had left a $100 bill in the back of that Winston. I'm like, you know what? For the money, I mean, sort of reinvestment.
Yeah, I can do the math there. I can do the math. That immediately makes it a $300 Winston, but it was originally worth $40, so it's really like a $260 Winston. I'm not sure. Caster math, not my forte here, Ash.
Listen, flexing all, play by color, cool. Math, no. I am not the right person for that. Absolutely not.
Not doing it whatsoever. Let's take a look a little bit more in-depth, into these two teams as Amplify and Bonzi buddies, of course. First up, of course, is Amplify. 7-1 here on the day. Be looking at the tank role taken over by Kuffa. Sawhill might be coming on in here for the replacement. Wub Doomed Yogi making up our DPS core here. Supports, that is Cal, that is Dong Hun, and that is Boat. Hey, Boat! Hey, I'm not, that's like half of me.
We about it, though. Amplify is essentially what the Gladiators should have been in their prime over in Overwatch League. I will say this over and over again. And when it comes to Kuffa in particular, really made Junker Queen look nasty. Yeah. And there were some cases where the Mage just came in and trounced that. But you can't really forget Cal either. On the support, especially with Kiriko, those headshot accuracy and the placement was nasty. But Doomed on the Genji was really having everybody in a tizzy, everybody in a fright, especially with such maps like New Queen Street, because the flank points, anything you could possibly think of, horrifying. But Wub in conjunction with Kuffa and Doomed made this team look nasty.
They really did. They really did. No other way to describe that one. DPS play been absolutely on point. We'll see what exactly they can do, and if they do punch that ticket to the rematch action, right? To the rematch over there with Right. Now, taking a look over here, Bonzi buddies. We'll have some replays here coming on in just a couple of seconds. Big fat shout out to our producer here on the day, that is Solomon, making our jobs as casters that much easier, and we very much appreciate it. Zeb and Zebra, the DPS duo right here, the Z-Boys. Z-folks, I should say, here for the Bonzi buddies. Tap, Zamba, K41, making up the Nope. Zeb and Zebra are the tanks. It's esports early, Ash. It's esports early. That's what I always say.
It's early for me as it is 11 a.m. here in Southern California, but the Z-Boys, Z-Fighters, if you will, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan like myself or Bonzi Buddies Z, I mean, there's a Z in Bonzi, let's be real here.
It's
and
true.
this team is half contenders, but at the same time half California Collegiate because both Zebra and Otters play for UC Santa Cruz and UCI respectively, which, to be real here, UCI just completely shredded the competition at this year's UCEI. I'm still very salty about it, but all these players together, of course, you're going to have some dynamite, have some explosiveness going on, and they really managed to give it the P's and Q's. I mean, the one map that they really made look like their home was Coliseo. So in that mode, I'm interested to see how that's going to go, especially knowing that Amplify and on push, especially with the bot, New Queen Street was theirs. But then going into Circuit Royale, that's where Bonzi Buddies really managed to put things away, especially Zomba, the overclock, and then you had Zeb going in with the Zarya, which was a high risk, but it brought in plenty of high reward.
Yeah, we clearly see the Zeb there. Obviously not a one-trick pony, but absolutely melting there on the Zarya. Those last few clips recap there of previous losers bracket match. Losers bracket match that would see P's and Q's going on down to that 4th place finish. Again, top 3 getting paid out right here. And we're getting this one figured out in just a little bit. Who's going to beat who? Who's going to go home with some cash in the pocket? And who, again, is going to secure themselves those undying honor and glory, the bragging rights, right? That's the bragging rights.
Yeah, and it looks like our first map, of course, we are starting off with Flashpoint, but New Junk City is where we're going to be headed. So I won't be surprised in hearing that Junker Queen it's going to be the bread and butter here for Amplify, and then to counter that on the side of Bonzi Buddies, I mean, sure, Zarya might be the pick, but going Orisa would be a bit of a risk considering how much of a bullet sponge that was in Flashpoint in the first place, but that was Suravasa. Hopefully with this map, things should change just a little bit here.
Yeah, and there's enough like difference across this map that this really should be a true test of skill and coordination within these two Overwatch teams. Obviously, different members have different types of experience. You mentioned some tier 2 players. You mentioned obviously like gladiators. You mentioned some collegiate players as well. So I think what's going to spell out on the day, the team that's going to go forth and take advantage on this is just a team that feels more comfortable moving together as a singular unit. Ash?
Yeah, with Amplify, they are frighteningly comfortable moving as a singular unit. They are good at isolation tactics, being able to separate the herd, I should say. But I feel in that same note, Bonzi Buddies, whenever that happens to them, they know, hey, let's make sure that our tank is safe because, of course, we don't want that shredded, and then we lose our backline support and whatever you can think of, which... On that same note, then you have Cal, who really likes to act as that DPS flex support, if you will. And then coming in with the Kiriko, you got that instant TP Suzu to everybody on your field. And then if need be, you're going to have Bonzi Buddies having to watch out for that.
Yeah. The Kiriko play is something I'm always going to keep my eyes on. Obviously, as a support player myself, mainly Lucio, I'm always going to want to try and... Oh, hey, there you go. Yeah, I got a little bit more than 1,000 out. Well, there was a little bit more than 1,000 hours when Overwatch 2 came. I'm not 100% sure. We didn't actually have this competition for me to brag about my Lucio quick play hours, right? Point is, I always feel good when you watch another support get a kill, right? Kiriko is hands down the most precise of supports, of healers, right? Outside, of course, your kind of medium range hit scan Anna with those shots, right? Those are not instant kill capabilities either, though. Yeah, you add an anti-grenade in there for Anna, now it's a different story. But Kiriko obviously coming in with the capability to one-shot certain heroes within the great game of Overwatch.
Yeah, of course. And with Ana, I mean, sure, we see that rarely, but listen, you have at the same note, you have Kuffa with massive anti-potential with the Rampage and on a map like New Junk City. Or actually, no, it looks like we might be headed up to Suravasa. I just saw the change there below. So we got baited, and I am slightly ticked off of that because I wanted to see something new. Because Suravasa, Flashpoint, it's fast-paced. On that same note, and Junker Queen is still going to be a danger close quarters. You get packed into one wrong place with the rest of your team. It's not going to be a good day for the rest.
No, it will not. No, it will not. The Berry Blast is moments away from continuing here for Losers Finals. Suravasa, let's get the opinion here. Ash, some of these new Flashpoint game modes, not personally my favorite, gotta say.
You know what? As a Lucio player who really likes to play that Jet Set Lucio mode, and on most maps, Suravasa, I'll be real with you, just isn't my favorite. Sure, there's plenty of places to skate, I practice it all the time. I don't want to say it feels too fast-paced for me, but I feel I can barely get a grapple of what's going on, and then by the time that the rest of the team strategizes with me and what we want to do next, it's at that point, it's too late, and we're already either on to the next point or the entire game is over from then.
Yeah, exactly. The randomosity that comes around with the rotation of hard points, of hills, whatever you want to call them, of control points, personally, not my favorite. Esports is about being able to prepare for expected events and do calculations there. And oh well, always start in the middle though, that much we know. Bonzi Buddy is Amplified, not looking at incredibly different compositions. We got the Junker Queen on Kuffa with Amplify, got the Orisa with Bonzi Buddies. Only the other difference is the Genji here on Doom, that's Amplify, and Zomba on Bonzi Buddies. Let's get this one started. Zep up close and personal. There's a Javelin out, forced to use the healing early, and that's a Junker Queen that's just absolutely put into the corner and made to cry.
See, to tell, but like I was saying about it the other day, is that Zeb on Orisa was going to be a bullet sponge. With the Mei, that has me a little intrigued because we saw how on King's Row that Kuffa got trapped in a lot of points, and sure, you can circumvent the wall, but find yourself trapped, and that's where Zeb comes in on the Javelin and being able to take you down.
At the end of the day, I think Bonzi Buddy is going to come through at I'm not going to say a superior composition, I'm going to say a composition that allows for them to excel in more ways, especially once you take a Mei and you put a Lucio behind her. Doomed right now, just trying to get a little bit irritating. That's going to be Zomba taken out by their counterpart. Doomed right now, putting on a clinic, as this is Amplify, just taking ticks one by one right here, and all shall fall before the Amplify squad.
Listen, Doomed will definitely take you to school when it comes to learning Genji. She's like, you know what? Hold this blade. Hold these shurikens for me just for 1 second, and is really able to build up Dragon Blade quickly, but Doomed knows better than to use it, keeps it sparingly, and just knows when to rip it, especially in being able to infiltrate backline without anybody knowing. But on the same note, Zomba on DPS, especially with Surgeon's railguns and magnetic grenade placements, can also be a nightmare.
Nightmare indeed. Kuffa not willing to give up the Junker Queen quite yet. About 75% onto this one. Getting involved, or at least trying to. That's a speed boost. That's a Junker Queen speed edit as well. And nothing really for it. This is an Amplify squad that is all about rushing in and taking kills. Doomed now with the blade and gets absolutely nothing for it. 100-0, just changing pixels out here, Ash.
And that's a really tough one to really try and come back from. Sure, you have the Kitsune Russian Zomba on the overclock to recover, but then Amplify just has that extra cushion in from the Lucio, which Donghung, and on a map like Suravasa with a mode like Flashpoint, you would have expected Amplify to be a little more dominant, but it seems that Bonzi Buddies in the early game kind of trounced that.
87-88 right now. Bonzi Buddy is going to take this point, moving on to the next. Amplify, even if they can get there, this is not a point worth holding on to. That happens. Up 1-0 now for Bonzi Buddies as the rotation goes on down. I believe that's southeast of them right now.
Southeast away from them. Flashpoint is, of course, away from the middle, and now we're going, okay, I got my directions right. North, south. Oh wow, it was southeast in the first place. I was in Sea Scouts and I should know compass points. But on the point, Bonzi Buddy are there first. Comes to ulti. They have two, which clock and ramp should be for them, but you can just easily get as countered by Tap's Blizzard, and then the cushioning from the Terra Surge and the beat drop to the B. Plenty nasty.
It really is. Here comes the beat drop, as you mentioned. Cap coming in just a little bit. This is a Tap speed boosted Mei. Here comes Overcharger, and that's gonna be enough. Amplify finding 3, like they're finding lint in their pocket. That's easy, Ash.
You hate lint, but you also hate to see Amplify get ground into dust, and at the hands of Zeb coming in with the Terra Surge, and before that, like I predicted, some Magician-ish Will with the Lucio beat drop, allowing Bonzi Buddy to properly fight this out with little to no worry. But you saw at the beginning that the Mei wall was plenty of time. They heard the overclock and they knew better than to just have their flashpoint ravaged.
100% agree. Junker Queen ultimate on one side. I can tell you I'd rather have this Blizzard. Here it comes. There's the banner, and that's a lot of shots, but Zeb, even through purple, is going to be able to get on top of that one. Amplify. Oh, Doomed, not again. It can't happen again. Just slicing it midair, making sushi out of oxygen molecules. Absolutely hate it.
Wow, if you're making sushi out of oxygen molecules, you may have inadvertently become Oppenheimer and sliced a couple atoms if that's the situation. I mean, you saw with the Mei wall, it just really stopped any action coming in from Doomed. I mean, really knew better than to just push in. The remainder of Bonzi Buddies were there, and it really just stops you from doing Genji stuff, but doing Kiriko stuff. Otters, same, what a shout Doomed.
No, what just Kiriko things. Absolutely love it.
Real.
Now, let's be clear. I am not encouraging Doom to just pull Blade and just close eyes, slash in front of them and dash as much as they can. But it is always a feels bad. You see not one but two Dragon Strikes getting absolutely wasted with no benefit for the side of Amplify. Taking a look, like you said, only other ultimate there for Wub on the DPS core. Just gotta go forth and get some value here because there comes the Kitsune Rush. Comes the Sojourn, nicely done. That's shots and more. Cal, the next to fall right here. And this is going to be Amplify. You just got to get out of dodge while the getting is good. Bonzi Buddy is easily taking theirs. Easily? They're facing like 65%. But team fights were handedly the way of the Bonzi Buddies.
Whole wall. This has been nothing but Mei all day. I mean, Backstreet Boys, it is, of course, going to be Mei, but in this case, it's been Tap, knowing when to time these, when to hold things back, and then on the same note, when to isolate. Amplify. Now, Bonzi Buddies have really been playing these corners well, and when it comes to these points, Amplify, this is typically their mode. We've seen it happen before where it's just been nothing but a 3-0 duster, but now it's more of an uphill battle, especially with Bonzi Buddies leading the charge.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Amplify got halfway to taking this one, of course, much faster than even have a single player on top. Zamba was getting harassed by Lucio over here. Turns around. Hey, there he is. He's finally on the ground. Take that frog out. Kuffa, as of right now, doing everything they can with their own healing and the support of their teammates. There's a freeze. There's an overcharge, and Zeb takes out their counterpart in the tank. 19-20% as of right now. That's where Amplify is going to finish their taking efforts. I think I said that right. It's early, guys. Wow, Doomed. Okay, Doomed put on a clinic right here. Didn't find much in the first two. Found a lot on the third.
Listen, if Doomed was able to make sushi out of oxygen just a couple of minutes ago, finally, you had a little bit of some robotic parts from the Orisa, and it kind of makes sashimi out of that. So you know what? It works out in the end. Amplify, able to take it back by 35% and counting. And for Bonzi Buddies, now tables have turned, or the turntables, if you will, with Kuffa leading the charge in front. The last thing you ever want to face is a rogue Junker Queen, of course, with the boost and the Kitsune Rush. Bonzi Buddies may be able to take this back for themselves.
There's the Kitsune Rush, but there's not a whole lot being garnered from it as of right now. Just trying to find a way in edgewise of the Bonzi Buddies, and now descending from the top. The aerial advantage, never gonna be a bad one. Nice javelin right there. The kind of mini stun on the end, and Zeb gets a headshot to put Doomed on back to spawn. Here comes the Sojourn ultimate. Wub just trying to stay alive at this point. Actually, now the sound barrier, and this is gonna be enough with the mix of speed boost for at least one to go in. Excuse me, Dong Hun with the sound barrier right there was but not unable to keep up Kuffa. This should be enough for Amplify to win, and Bonzi Buddies just to look onto point number 4.
Man, I feel the most important thing early on, the reason why Bonzi Buddies were able to stay alive and being able to take themselves 2 points early is that because they were able to they were able to isolate, not amplify, Wub and Doom from each other. Those two work in conjunction, and then without your DPSs, you kind of leave Kuffa vulnerable, But then without Cal and Donghung to really help out without those DPSs, then Bonzi Buddies, Maywall, Terra Surge, Javelin, whatever you can possibly think of, then they were able to capitalize. But with the next Flashpoint, it looks to be Bonzi Buddies all day yet again. Of course, making sure that Dooms are back and away. Zomba, on the other hand, getting these licks in, especially with the Overclock and Javelin coming in.
Yeah, so Bonzi Buddies takes 2 early ones right here. Zomba utilizing that one, but hey, a 2-for-1 will take that all day, especially when you have Blizzard ready to go. You have the Orisa ultimate, and you got the Sound Barrier. Bonzi Buddies handedly taking this first point right here. The increased tick taking for this game mode will yield Amplify only really 1 team fight as a full 5 to try and make this a non-issue.
Of course, I realized this entire time, Tugboat, do you mean to tell me as a Lucio main, I've been calling it Beat Drop and not Sound Barrier, thinking that was the official name? I feel so wild for that. 800 hours on Lucio, and you'd expect, well, I know that, but I feel Donghung and Abertings in this game have been playing Lucio, taking him to school 100%, and there you see it again, the Maywall up from tap, and then Kuffa is unable to even get in here. No Junker Queen, they really know better, and Bonzi Buddies are just outplaying at every corner.
Well, this is the last opportunity for Amplify. They're just trying to get some damage in edgewise and pick up some kind of ultimate before they go into this, because if they're ult tracking at all, they know the Kitsune rush now and 3 more down the pipe, and they're going to be staring down the barrel of every single one, trying to rotate in and get a little something into this. Avertings biting off a little bit more than they can chew, but it is time to go. There's the Blizzard, there's the Offer. That's going to be enough for damage, but not enough. Kuffa, the last line of defense, and there's not a whole lot that a Sojourn, Junker Queen, no supports are gonna be able to do. Avertings with the Sound Barrier at the end just for a little bit of show, and the Bonzi Buddies win map number 1 at a 3-1 scoreline.
This Zed and Tap made that look like a game of Tekken Tag tournament with the way that the Blizzard and the Terra Surge were coming in conjunction and being used with each other. You love to see it, but what you also love to see, Doomed able to get off a successful Dragon Blade to at least cap Amplify at one point, but even then, it wasn't enough, and Bonzi Buddies will be able to take game 1.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a longer series here, right? You know, it's obviously not a one and done. You've seen a little bit more Overwatch action for the efforts of the Bonzi Buddies and everything they've done to get here. Of course, folks, reminder, this is an Amplify Bonzi Buddies rematch. This is a 3-1 scoreline last time. Let's hope for at least some extra Overwatch, not a 3-0 either way. Well, it would be a 3-0 Bonzi Buddies now, as it is. Fantastic efforts there in map number 1. We'll be moving on in as loser picks map number 2. Is that correct?
Yeah, believe so. That is going to be the case, and close to my microphone because it is cutting out slightly. Gosh darn you, $30 Amazon mic. It is happen, but like you said, this is a rematch, and I know we didn't exactly do prediction earlier, but I am a little biased in saying that Bonzi Buddies, I really want to see them be able to take this one 100%.
Yeah, I love Amplify, love what they've done, love what everything they've done to get to this point, but the writing is on the wall a little bit, and especially after the Suravasa map right here, I think it kind of shows me that the Bonzi Buddies just have that little bit of extra it factor. They've, like I said earlier, they have worked together a little bit more right here, and I just think they have, what, the je ne sais quoi, isn't that the phrase?
I mean, you say je ne sais quoi the entire time I've been since saying je ne sais quoi. You know, French is not that great, but I think Bonzi Buddies were able to pull out a dictionary or two, turn on that translate to say, yeah, you're not making it past this one, Amplify. We're just going to turn the volume down just slightly, and really at every corner, those Maywalls especially were not helping. I mean, Bonzi Buddies, sure, but Amplify just seemed they weren't able to skirt around them like they're able to.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that when you throw a Kitsune rush in there, you add a little bit of speed boost from this Lucio, turn on that speed song. This is, and especially obviously Kiriko, or the Kitsune rush, excuse me. And when you add in the other positive effects that Kitsune rush gives you, this is just an absolute like rolling death ball kind of composition, even if the 5-man composition may not have been exactly that. whenever you have this, I mean, other side, they get a May, something like this to slow things down on the other side. It bears to repeat that Bonzi Buddies also did not witness any massive changes in their composition. What they started with is very, very similar to what they ended with. They found no issues with putting down Amplify in a much more like scrummy, much faster game mode, like map, excuse me, like Saravasa. We'll have to see how this changes and if it changes, Ash, coming into the rest of the series.
Yeah, for the rest of the series, too. I mean, that's the thing. We didn't exactly see any switches coming from either of these teams. They stuck to their guns and they stuck to them well. But on the side of Bonzi Buddies, I mean, yesterday we saw more Zarya than we did Orisa, and then it was only specific cases that we did see that. And for King's Row, am I expecting Orisa here?
Hey.
Maybe not. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it's their bread and butter, I wouldn't advise them to switch yet. Just have to see how it plays, and especially on Hybrid, maybe a little bit of that Ramatra action to be seen just yet.
Would love it. Would absolutely love it. The absolute meme lord Ramatra. This is Scrim's Row. Not seeing a Reinhardt in .1, at least on offense right there, just to get through choke. What might be a little bit weird, but Sigma as well. Talk about some projected barriers. I love this map. I love this map so much. The Great Game Bamboozle of 2019 happened here. That was short for, speaking of, the LAG, right?
Oh my god, you are really bringing me back to when I used to watch Overwatch League in high school. Tugboat. High school! I will never forget. I mean, Great Bamboozle, that had to have been at least maybe my senior year going here in Los Angeles. I don't even like thinking about it. And for Amplify, like I was saying, switching off from the Junker Queen and more into Annihilation Nemesis territory with Ramatra. And then Cal, no more Kiriko, but we are going Baptiste, so an Immortality Field, and with the health should allow for more longevity with your tank.
I actually love the Immortality Field. I like thoroughly in love with the Immortality Field and that character. Throw a May in as well. This is a very slow down comp. I would be amazed if it does not change, not when, if they give up this first point. Maywall out and down. This is a tank getting absolutely swarmed right here, and this is not the way to start. Zeb getting incredibly low. You can spin that javelin, it's not gonna matter when these punches hit through. Kuffa gonna be the one finding a lot of damage. Zeb goes as deep as a tank can possibly get on this freaking map and still finds their counterpart. Riding on the wall, Amplify. Bonzi Buddies say no go.
Let's get one thing straight when it comes to tanks. On either side of Bonzi Buddies and Amplify, that's your anchor, that's your baby. And God forbid your child gets swarmed, because then what are you going to do? I mean, the May walls provide that isolation, but knowing that Amplify now has the Ramatra, it's going to be Bonzi Buddies' mission to be able to make sure that doesn't happen and the Nemesis can't break through.
Jeez a breeze, this Ramatra just absolute work cut out for them. Here comes the amplification matrix as well. A couple of shots through this one. That's going to be 100% necessary as well, as this is a Bonzi Buddy member. Yeah, that's Zeb. It's going way deep right here. Members of Bonzi Buddies really wanted to focus on getting this payload under this overhang here, Ash. This is the next real test for them after actually opening this payload up. Couple abilities there, mostly for zoning and damage, and this is half free across the middle. Now a little bit contest action and stops this one as Wub finds their counterpart. Zumba won the previous engagement, Ash.
Man, I'm no stranger to zoning, that is unfortunately all I hear over in fighting games, but this is Overwatch we're talking about, and Bonzi Buddies are making sure that Amplify not only stay far away from them, but then able to get that zone action. I mean, with whatever you can possibly think of, the poke damage, the chip damage, as well as tap just to stray away in your back line, and the blizzard coming in, of course, that's going to make the cart no man's land, essentially, for Amplify, and the one place they really need to be away from, as well as the Terra Surge on Zeb as a Lucio being Donghoon. You really hate to have that happen to you.
Yeah, even worse is staring at that 99% on sound barrier, Ash. A true feels bad, man, as we see a pinstripe kill feed. Left and right, red and blue we go, and it's going to be Bonzi Buddies coming out on top. Talk to me a little bit about the ultimates we might see in this next team fight, Ash.
Man, if I had to say in this next team fight that Overclock is going to be vital on the side of Bonzi Buddies, and then Avertings would of course be able to come in on the sound barrier, beat drop, because that's my official name for it, and Amplify would have the same, but then Kuffa on the Annihilation would just as easily be able to get here on the cart and have themselves a grand old time. Then you have Tap to worry about, who could just as easily duplicate that and give Bonzi Buddies the advantage.
Absolutely love this. A little bit of change, and we see Tap onto the Echo. Any copy target not named Ramattra would basically be a mistake. Tank's always going to be the name of the game for this, and that is a May getting absolutely supported. Zeb right there putting in their best efforts. Here comes the Ramattra ultimate. That's going to be a nice wall as well. Zeb is just trying to get away from this. Here comes the copy though. Tap on the Ramattra doesn't quite get into their ultimate form, unfortunately. Even with the accelerator right there, not gonna be enough. Kitsune Rush doesn't care about your ice wall, as this is just absolutely swarming in the back, as Amplify is pulling out everything that they can to try and stop this Bonzi Buddies payload from hitting point numero dos.
Man, I tell you, the power of prediction, and of course Ashervok is always right on that one. You ask for ultimates, I'm going to give you ultimates, and we see Avertings in the chat with the hungry hippo line. Love to see it, as most of Amplify's ultis were just eaten, and no Diva had to be involved for that one, I'll tell you that, as Bonzi Buddies able to stay safe for just a little longer, and all it took was one duplication from Tap, and the Ramattra had Amplify in shambles.
Oh, Zombod with a two-piece right here. Death from above as Zomb is descending upon you. Another fantastic shot as Wub is the next target. Doom taken out as well. Kuffa sent back on a respawn to think about their mistakes, and we're looking at pie time up top. That's 314.
I think it's time due for a name change for Zomba to finally become Wamba. At this point, it's nothing but W's all around, with the corners, the peaks, and then the shots that were rallied from the overclock and the railgun slides as well. You love to see it. And the amplification matrix is heard. I don't think this is going to have much effect for really anybody in Amplify to be involved, as you just have the shielding. And then actually Amplify switching over. It's Chuffa now on the Sigma. So interesting to see how this is going to play out. I mean, at this point, it might be too little too late if Bonzi Buddies have this on lock still.
So Amplify, their last real hold here, is this one's just what, about 9 meters away. Otter's sitting in the back right here, trying to send out that necessary healing and whatnot. There's the Kitsune Rush. The Blizzard, or the Maywall, excuse me, is not going to do a whole lot right here. There's the sound barrier finally. Dong Hun coming into that one in the nick of time. The copy onto... Oh, that is just BM. That's bad manners right there. The copy onto the Baptiste, put down Immortality Field, and then 1v. Brutal. Bonzi Buddies go up to 3-0 here on their offensive push. 2:10 left in their clock.
Man, some bad manners, and Bonzi Buddies, listen, I get they play well, but the last thing you want to do is wake up a sleeping giant that could very well be Amplify. But we take a look at the stat lines for most of our players here, both sides of Amplify and Bonzi Buddies, and one thing I noticed is that damage right now, I mean, that's actually going... Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I think we're getting the wrong names here.
Oh,
wait.
No, the names are incorrect, but I believe the characters the heroes that they're playing were correct. We'll get that up for you guys in just a little bit. It's all good. Hey, production's got a million and one things, guys. It is easy to just scream about esports in your room. Big shout out to Solomon over there on prod. It is fixed. Solomon. Taking a look. Wub, Doomed, both combining for 3 and 4 is attacking heroes, Ash, question mark?
I mean, maybe. It would be interesting. Wub and Doomed on DPS. I mean, they love to tag team everything and then be able to isolate, cut through, and slice dice, if you will. And on damage, not too bad. When it comes to elims, I'm expecting a higher number from that, as right now, Bonzi Buddies are really taking everything in control.
Really are. Gotta agree with you here. Defensive looks obviously significantly differently. We do have Wub up top on the Widowmaker. Looks like Bonzi Buddy is going to be able to kind of sniff this one out. It's a standard start. Send the Widowmaker up top, try and find a headshot, go back down, switch, win/if you do not. Doomed not able once again. Dude, Zeb just has these DPS's numbers.
Man, with Zeb right now, I mean, looking more DPS than tank, if anything. And one thing I love, the one thing you really should watch from Zeb, it's prime classic Orisa. You harass, you intimidate, push in as far as you can, and make sure the fortified javelin spin is able to catch everybody off guard, that you're unkillable, if you will. Not unkillable, it's going to be Wub, that one stray Sojourn caught out, and Bonzi Buddies having no choice but to pull back as Amplify, harass them off the point.
Last push territory. Okay, love it. Zub just putting a toe onto the corner right here and stopping this progress. Zumba defeated as Doomed is just playing a completely different Genji on the day. Kuffa and rotate around right here and get some damage in edgewise. Always putting up first and foremost to try and block. He's body block a little bit of damage. Ooh, feels bad. Zeb is doing a great job maintaining positioning onto that corner right there, but Amplify has come to play on the day.
Man, with the Gracie and then the melee kill, Kuffa is finally back to the Junker Queen. We love to see it, and should be able to beat the allegations made by Cal earlier of, oh yeah, Kuffa's JQ isn't that great, we'd rather prefer dive on Winston. And we were like, excuse you, but the replay coming in, and Amplify were still able to take the cart for themselves in a quick, concise team fight on their side.
A Donghun playing payload duties as of right now. Makes perfect sense. Cal can get back to them quickly. Their TP. We got plenty of healing otherwise. There's loads of capabilities for overheal for Kuffa. There's loads of capabilities just to use your movement abilities, get on over small health packs and whatnot too. There's Kuffa trying for the knife first, not gonna find it. There's a Kitsune rush, and Zeb does not know the meaning of the word fear or backup.
They really don't, but the one thing I'm loving to see out of Kuffa is that, alright, let me just hide back here real quick. Nobody's gonna see me, nobody's gonna notice. But here we go, Doomed on the imaginary technique, Dragon Blade, if you will, hunting everybody down. And Avertings and Zomba just had no choice, nowhere to run or hide, as they had one Genji after them and little time to try and recover.
In-player kill streak here for Kuffa as Amplify is gonna be punching their ticket to a little bit extra time. They're staying on the barrel 5 minutes coming up here. Ash is the Amplify squad that we saw get dusted on Saravasa over and done with. Is this a new team? That's the question.
I mean, that is a great question. I'm hoping there's an answer to that, and Amplify will be able to respond. As Bonzi Buddies, I mean, they are hard keeping at defense right now, but you have Wub now coming in with the overclock, but the cushioning in for both sides, actually one side, excuse me, it's going to be the beat drop and the blizzard. It's a really hard counter, and poor Kuffa gets caught in the middle of it with Tap and Zeb there, able to clean up.
Get a bad sinking feeling here that Bonzi Buddies has allowed their last point to be opened up on defense. The Amplify is going to have a tough time trying to beat this one through. Taking a look at these ultimates. Of course, you got the overclock here for Zomba. You got the sound barrier there for Donghun. Nothing necessary. Anybody tracking these knows there's no massive combination of ultimates capable, but here goes the Sojourn ult, and as Mr. Miyagi said, the best block is simply not to be there. Zomba gets nothing.
My god, that takes me back all the way to Karate Kid, but wax on, wax off, that's really gonna apply to Zeb here, as Kuffa gets caught not only in the middle of the spin, but then you have the grenade to worry about. However, Amplify seem to finally be waking up, turn the volume up, as Cal able to get those much needed flex kills on the support Kiriko, no less.
Yeah, so let me ask Ash, what exactly has changed here for Bonzi Buddies? Why are they having such a problem holding on to a definitive point for any amount of time?
Man, if I had to guess, I mean, one thing, the Ramatra switch, cool and great and all on defense, it didn't exactly work out too well. But now Amplify, I've had to say, and dare I say it, is that JQ, it's going to be more of a problem than you initially need to deal with. You have the cleave, the axe, you have a Junker Queen that's supported by damn good supports with Donghun and Cal, and Kitsune Rush 2, combine that with the Rampage, of course you're not in for a fun time. And Bonzi Buddies, I mean, if I had to say, Orisa, good and all, Zarya might be the better play, but as I say that, I mean the switch, I don't want to take that too far, as yet again that Dragon Blade is going to hit for some nasty combination damage.
And Bonzi Bunnies, Bonzi Buddies, excuse me, their main focus now is just going to be holding under 210. Not going to be enough. Amplify, after giving up first point in their defense really, really quickly, comes forth with more time here on Kings Row.
Man, Kings Row, you say Kings Row, we say Scrims Row here in Collegiate,
Sure.
of course. I mean, God knows I've heard so much of that, and seeing the UCSCA team play through it, it's been a nightmare. It's a waking nightmare. It's endless. It's almost every single day. You really hate to go through it. It's like, oh, just play something else. But that's what we're sticking to, and with Bonzi Buddies, might have to change strategy a little bit, as now you're at 3-3. You don't want Amplify catching up to you like this.
No, you do not. No, you do not. Stringing together a second map right here on Kings Row to set up yourself for a clean sweep would be obviously what Bonzi Buddies have. The cards is what they want most, but allowing this to go to a tie and essentially becoming a best of 3 after that would be about as catastrophic from a Servasa, like, handed W than would be expected. And by handed, I mean, like, they took it handedly, I should say. They were not handed a W. They were not given a W, excuse me.
I have a horrible running theory here that what if, and I say what if just like this, that Amplify gave them one win just for Gits and Shiggles as a free handout, and that they were playing with their food this entire time. I'd be hard-pressed and then stuck to think that that's not the case, is it? And if it is, I think I'd just cry.
Samba here with the same efforts. Okay, that's a lucky Genji on Doomsday on the other side that they were not able to pick that one up. I feel like most people just kind of hide initially on defense on this map because everybody goes for the Widowmaker early. As it is, Zamba trying to get up a little bit of vertical positioning. That's going to be easier said than done. Zeb having a really tough time trying to get back with their team, and this is nothing if not anticipated here. You have a tank. It is not named Junker Queen. They can't just zoom back with the rest of their squad. Well, that's going to happen. Love the Zarya pick. Zarya, unfortunately, has no real movement abilities. We are not counting blasting the ground for an extra, what, I think 7%, like, speed or whatever.
Man, that's a really tough one. I was hoping that Zarya would be able to shine here, but Amplify the other day, if I remember correctly, did fall hard to the Ramatra Mei combo. That was from another team, however, and it was able to corner them, but now that they have side switched and we have Bonzi Buddies trying their damnness here on defense, might be more of an issue as Amplify, or actually, excuse me, Bonzi Buddies on attack. All right, Tugboat, it's early for both of us. I may have skipped coffee here.
Never a good idea, Ash. Never a good idea. Dong Hun falls first. Here comes the Kuriko ultimate Extended Rush, trying to increase chances of Bonzi Buddies taking this one. Only down by a pick, though. And there's still a couple of opportunities here. Cuffit taken down. Okay, I'm going to say no tank. There's soft support. This team fight is over. Amplify's best opportunity would be to hang out up top until this hits like 95. Try and stall it out maybe a little bit. Not gonna happen.
Man, that's a tough one. And of course, Bonzi Buddies now back in control of this, and with overtime in play, I mean, Amplify, oh, this is going to be an uphill battle, like I said on Circuit Royale. Of course, flat ground, so not exactly climbing literally. And in that same note, you're still finding yourself as Doom harassed, and by Zeb of all people, JQ is still just as powerful, and the Rampage, to nobody's surprise, it catches majority of Bonzi Buddies, and even with the Lucio boost, might have saved Zeb Otters and Abertings a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, Dong Hoon has a way, way better sound barrier right there than Abertings. Abertings, that hits a couple seconds earlier. This team fight is still anybody's, but Otter's falling right now. Amplify doing exactly what they need to. There's Doom, sashimi, sushi, whatever you want to call it. It is thin and it is sliced. A couple more members away. This is just stalling territory, and Bonzi Buddies gets granted a 4th point. And what is that? 15 meters extra. This is basically a full hold type situation for the Bonzi Buddies on their defensive attempt coming up here.
thin sliced diced sashimi, my personal favorite, hon hamachi yellow tuna. It's great.
Okay.
But at this point now, Bonzi buddies, that's all they have. It's a sliver, a slice to try and hold on for themselves, because at 4 and 3, this could easily go on and on, or Amplify could just really be able to take this, put themselves, I believe, just 5 and 4, and it would have Bonzi buddies in a bit of a predicament to try and fight back from.
Yeah, no one ever wants to be in that situation, and especially with 2.5 minutes. Amplify is looking ripe to take this one, honestly. Just looking at the writing on the wall, just looking at what Amplify has done both on offense and defense so far, and of course paying attention to just how quickly they took this first point on their regular time offensive push.
Yeah, now with this one, of course, we're going to have May back in action from tap, still on that. And Zeb, Zarya in that first initial play, I was thinking, there was a time to shine. And then the switch back to Orisa helped them slightly, but still just wasn't enough. And on the side of Amplify, if I were Bonzi buddies, I would focus more on isolating Kuffa, separating them from the rest of the pack. And even then, Kiriko, Cal on the Kiriko is going to be more of an issue, because that's an instant TP to really just help him out with anything under the sun possible. So, gosh, this is really just a tough one to combat, and you really need to focus on that more.
Speaking of focusing right here, this wouldn't be a bad strategy for Bonzi buddies. Just pick tank and try and swarm up. Try and get together right here and just put as much damage, put as much attention onto that as you can. This is Kuffa, who's shown themselves very, very willing to go deep into the backlines and whatnot. Just go ahead and punish them for it. Obviously, the Cal, Kiriko heals will be there.
With that one May wall just stuck in the corner, you did see that one got isolated, but then they were able to skirt around. That was a scary situation, however, coming in and one team fight in the hotel, all their worth for both Bonzi buddies and Amplify. Icicles abound, as well as the Javelin Zomba and Otters really sticking on top of that. And now Amplify, it's one Dong Hung left. They're just playing with their food and the Javelin. Zeb, you can't be doing that to people in the year of our Lord 2024 like this. They have families, for God's sake. Just send them back to respawn crying. That's a rough one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a longer saga that really is gonna matter right here. Yes, Lucio can get out very quickly. Yes, that time matters so much right now. Only 60 seconds left of it here for the Amplify attack. The back position, we've seen Amplify come back from these with an individual Suravasa control points, but this is a different story here on Scrim's Row. Otters got the Kitsune Rush ret to go, as Amplify is just really spreading the field right here. I gotta say, like, consolidating up just location-wise, just the literal physical location of where your team is may not be a bad idea coming into this. Kuffa has been leading the charge so far, but just gotta soak up a little bit more damage. Javelin pull attempted here. Kuffa the last alive, and we are last fight territory, Ash.
Man, they have one last fight, and I've had to guess Amplify are really going to want to play around Anchor, if you will, around that Rampage. That's going to be their number one ticket, but then going into that, Bonzi buddies have 3 counters on board. Zomba could just as easily rush in, take out backline with the bomb. Zeb could have Terra Surge, but then before that tap, Blizzard is going to be their main focal point, and then push in with the Terra Surge and fight off any stragglers. And what did I tell you, Tugboat? The power of prediction always works. And on that same note,
Dude!
Early Terra Surge to catch out Doom.
Oh my!
The Blizzard, everything under the sun possible. This has to be it. I don't think Amplify really going to be able to rush back from this one. They had a plan, and it just crumbled.
Oh man, absolutely brutal right here. Absolutely brutal. We'll have to watch that one on replay right now. Doomed has it has been feast or it has been famine, Ash. It has been feast or famine. Doomed is always coming in and either getting 2 or 3 Ks. Oh hey, the Florida Mayhem skin. Love that. It's gonna come in an older look, right?
Yeah, I'd love to see that classic vintage Florida Mayhem. Personally,
Yeah.
I got my LA Glads jersey, but Doomed put on a performance today, and still, you say feast or this or that. I say sink or swim. And Amplify right now, I don't want to say they're falling themselves into the shark cage a little bit, but we're kind of seeing them just falter a little bit in that ebb and flow.
Yeah, 2-0, right? And the thing is, there were so many times where Amplify had ample opportunity, right? Amplify with ample opportunity. Got a thing for alliteration here, folks. Um, this just comes off the back, and I'm not putting this Kings Row loss on any one single person right here. It just seemed like frequently when we tuned into Doomed, they would be doing a fantastic job farming ultimate. Always there, always the shurikens, always getting damage. Frequently in the backline as well, kind of providing that irritation, or at least the shift in attention that this defensive line has to focus somewhere. But Doomed also, as soon as you hear that Genji just screaming, right? It's like, okay, all attention on Doomed right now. If you're Avertings, that means a sound barrier. If you're the Zeb, that means pulling that Terra Surge and pulling him right in, as you saw in the very end. I mean, Doomed pulled it, and then literally everybody just backed up. Everyone just gave him the space they needed. I said it then, I'll say it again. Best block is simply not be there. Wub and Doomed doing a way better job than their 3 and 4 participation in the Saravasa map. And honestly, Wub almost purchased them this map. If Zeb hadn't pulled the perfect Terra Surge under the overhang, under the bridge right there, and taken out Doomed, as well as getting a lot of damage on a couple other players, led to their immediate deaths afterwards, this match would still be going on.
Not only that, the one thing I did notice is that Zeb didn't even need Blizzard to be able to pull that off. It was just a raw pop Terra Surge and still dragged everybody under, and it was those much needed kills. And then Zomba came in with that Pulse Bomb. It worked beautifully, worked perfectly. I was almost certain that Kuffa would at least be able to come in here with the Rampage, make some a little vulnerable. That just wasn't the case.
Just finding a little bit more value from individual ultimates. I think the Bonzi buddies, and this is minor, right? This is a very minor detail. Bonzi buddies took this map by a very slim margin. I think Bonzi buddies probably off of Avertings, the Lucio, generally going to be the ult tracking responsibilities here. I think just did a little bit of a better job than that. It seemed infrequent that Kuffa on the Junker Queen was coming forth and pulling her ultimate, and frequently it was like a thing that, oh my god, Bonzi buddies aren't ready for this. They're always ready. They're always ready to just simply get out of dodge, again, give them the space, simply not be there for them to be hit. A lot of times that was off the back of Averting's speed boost. A lot of times that was off the back of the Mei that was going right there. Again, just put up wall, let them figure this out by themselves. We'll be back when everything's calmed down.
Yeah, of course, and I feel that Bonzi buddies especially know how to play and pick their team fights very well. They know, hey, maybe this is not the best spot for it. Let's just wait until we hit Underbridge or maybe near the boiler room just a little further. And even then, its name of the game was isolation and zoning. Played it perfectly in Amplify, tried to get a grapple at some spots. I mean, sure, they were up by 1 point, managed to cap 3 and only stuck Bonzi's onto 1. And then from there on out, it was just kind of a downward slope until we finally saw Zeb play with his food a little bit, and that was not fun to watch. You're just so stuck in the corner like that. Lucio should be able to skate away from that situation and kind of resolve themselves. So you know what? I'm fine with my fate. I'll just reset with the rest of the team.
Sad frog. As it is, guys, we'll be looking at map 3 coming here in just a little bit. Will it be Bonzi Buddies finishing this series in a 3-0? Will it be Amplify fighting back tooth and nail to put this series at a 2-1 scoreline? We find out this and a lot more in just a couple minutes. Hello and welcome back to the Berry Blast tournament. We are in the losers finals right now, the lower bracket, for those of you who don't like the verbiage. We are looking at Bonzi Buddies taking on Amplify. It is 2-0 right now, despite Amplify's best efforts. They're in Scrims Row, Ash.
Yeah, Scrims Row just didn't really work out for them, and neither did Saravasa, which was really unexpected because Amplify, that is usually their map and mode. Flashpoint goes up so much for them, but heading into New Queen Street, I'm hoping this really changes for Amplify because last time we saw them play, whether it was against Samsara or against LeftRightGnight, it worked out a little too well in New Queen Street. We're talking this going by in less than 1 minute 50 seconds, kind of fast for the roster.
I must have missed that yesterday. Maybe blinking, you'll miss it on that one. Minute and 50 right there. Push is so up and down, Ash. Let me get the unbridled opinion on push as a game mode within Overwatch 2, please.
I mean, some maps are cool and everything. New Queen Street, I like it because, personal preference. This is coming from a support main as Lucio. Some of y'all really need to stay in line. Stay in your place. I cannot go as far as you think I can. I am tired, but personal
chat,
opinion,
please clip this. Please clip this. Just take that.
Lucio rage
before you get in your scrims into your scrim maps. Please, we're begging you.
Stay in a straight line. I can't skate all over the place, but what I can tell you from a professional and caster standpoint is that I feel push being one of the newer modes in Overwatch. I mean, not that new, it was in the game, but it's fun, it's enjoyable. I just feel you have a little more time to figure yourself out, and you actually have more opportunity to, rather than just stick with one hero throughout the entirety of the match, it kind of allows you to switch, kind of allows you to be experimental, and, just stay a little unserious with it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, having fun, right? Having fun with this stuff is the name of the game. That is all what we're doing here. Yes, there is $4,000 on the line. That is 2,000 first place, 1,400 second place, 600 for third. And so this is essentially like an $800 match, right? Winner of this punches the ticket on to the grand finals, minimum of 1,400. Loser of this gets $600. That's $100. Well, that was $100 a piece for Overwatch 1 6v6. That is $120 per person. Yes, math is hard.
Hold on, I'll do the math for you. Let's calculate real quick, chat. So, Tugboat gave us $600. Okay, Johnny has 6 apples. No, I'm kidding. So, $600, and that's divided among 5 people because Goat's meta is no longer here, thank Christ. That would be checking long division. You get about $120. Okay, you're not that far off. Actually, you're not even wrong at all. Wait a minute, I am so sorry.
Hey, quick caster math, dude. You take very, very simple numbers, you put them together, divide them or something like that. There is very, very little expectancy from the Tugboat that's going to be correct. So I always had to put out that disclaimer.
I will say, we are lucky we're in Overwatch and not another game, or else we'd be calculating, okay, now, if Punk has negative 15 frames, and he hits Geef for at least +8, then how much would he be left with at the end of the set? Thank Christ it's not like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no health ticks being calculated here. A uniquer rotation here from Zeb and the Bonzi Buddies, just all the way on the top. Again, try and take this yardage as best you can. Attempted boop, but this is going to be Kuffa again, just simply knows the name of the game until you're talking about 5 players on top. No, you can't kill the frog. You can't boop the frog. That's supposed to go the other way around.
I mean, like one Triple H said, it is time to play the game, and Bonzi Buddies are playing it a little too well. I mean, forget zoning. Now they're really going for a full brawl, and Amplify seem to barely take their bearings, seem to barely catch them, as you have Kuffa, Dongkung, and even Doomed that are being major targets of the Bonzi Buddy plays.
I love this setup as well. You got the Mei in the back, you got other players on top, you got Zeb continuously moving this robot, providing that motivation here, and everybody else going to be able to provide in this Overwatch cover from the top. He used the name.
Oh my gosh. Gosh, he really used that Family Guy bit. I was about to say!
Yep, there you go. He said the name.
He said the name. My god, Tugboat and I, a little too alike.
Nicely done right there. That's Otters, Zumba combining for 2, and immediately another 2 answered. Dong Hoon here to save the day. Not gonna matter for Kuffa, as this might just be a get on, get back, don't waste this a Terra Surge here, invested on a single Lucio. Zeb must have just been really, really irritated with that frog, with Donghung.
I mean, listen, you love to see the raw Terra Surge pop off, and look what it gets you. It gets you Wung Dong Hung, but it also gets you punished here coming in from Cal saying, hey, no teabagging here. That was rude. We're not going to have that in my Overwatch game, as Bonzi Buddies, of course, there to try and recover as best as possible, but not if Amplify has anything to say about it with Kuffa and Doomed. Looking to charge yet again here, Tugboat.
Amplify. Nowhere near the lead, but this is a solid push, and initially this is going to be the big challenge for Amplify to get this through these open sightlines. Zeb just trying to hang out on the bottom of the stairs right here. Test this one out. Just a little bit of feeling up action. That's now Doomed here with the blade. Realizes that that sound irritated hit, and Doomed continues to be feast or famine on that Genji.
And sink or swim, that's a tough one. And really, you sunk bad with the Dragon Blade. It really was imaginary technique because you see it. Did it happen? No. Must have blinked and missed it. Must have been part of my mind as Kuffa did pop off with the Rampage, only able to get one.
Ooh.
Yikes! From a distance, though. Poor Wub got caught in that. I'd be hard-pressed, too, to let that happen to me.
DPS capability is going to be negated here, at least lessened for the side of Amplify in a team fight that's going to require that so much. Now Amplify just lining up on middle. Zumba takes advantage of it yet again. This is the Zumba show, folks. We all got tickets.
Oh, you'd love to see it. Zumba show, at least in California standards, would cost $40 plus inflation, so make it at least 50 to count.
Can't forget the Ticketmaster charges.
Oh god, you're right. It's 120 plus charge. You're so right, Tugboat.
Don't remind me. Ticketmaster has done a nefarious and arguably evil job of just completely having a monopoly over all of the what are they called? You know what? I'm not going to get on my high horse. You basically have to use Ticketmaster to attend anything here in Las Vegas and pay those fees.
Oh,
I hate
God.
It. It sucks.
Vegas,
I hate
I'm
it.
so sorry.
And it sucks. Back to the team fight here. Donghoon and the rest of Amplify doing a really damn good job of just selecting. This is literally what I was talking about. In the kind of like mid-show, you know, but in between these maps 2 and maps 3, just simply selecting a target and getting hard on top, especially if they're a hard-to-kill target like Tap on Mei, like Zeb on Orisa. This kind of concentration, this kind of like consolidation of your resources, 100% necessary sometimes, and Zumba gets sliced and diced. Looking for a second here is Doomed.
I mean, I wouldn't say exactly sliced and diced, there's no sword involved, but maybe you should say a little love tap, just knock him out, place him on the ground, but either way, that's gotta hurt coming in from Doomed, but if I have to smell team fight prediction here, what are we thinking for these ultis up here? Tugboat.
I mean, there's a couple big ones up here for Bonzi Buddies. There's the Overclock, the Blizzard coming in as well. This is the classic combination that Bonzi Buddies is finding value on so far, and they find zero with it, at least initially on the ultimates, to slow down the damage afterwards. And the really big thing here is that Bonzi Buddies did not lose the lead, 41.38 versus 42.95, and Bonzi Buddy is going to be adding to that in a couple of seconds.
Oh god, don't do this to me again. You know casters in Overwatch can't handle math. It's just known at this point. I failed, personally, 10th grade math, but not failing right now. It's going to be the Kitsune Rush to come in. Bonzi Buddy's getting thrown in deep. The Mei wall to isolate, and now you find yourself stuck in the Warbirds gym. If I were Amplify here, that's going to have to be nice, easy cushion off the Lucio beat drop sound barrier. As I've been told, it's the legal government name with the imaginary technique all over again on that Dragon Blade. You really catch out Zomba, isolate, and Bonzi Buddies are really going to have to reset and re-strategize.
First, what you call, I call it feast or famine, you called it sink or swim. First, non-sink or swim ultimate there for Doom to single elimination. That's going to be enough to move the chains, as they say, and keep Amplify winning position as of right now. They are flirting with the lead here in just a couple of seconds.
Wait, are we talking like a light flirting or more of a kind of flirting here?
No, this is like first date action. They're still getting to know each other.
Okay. Just like maybe taking a Popeyes, maybe a Waffle House, or in this case, maybe Canada, or just death. apparently for Zomba and Doomed as well. You lose DPS on either side, and Bonzi Buddies shouldn't be that much of an issue for them, but you are so right in the Waffle House, though.
Is death the most iconic Zoomer date? You tell me.
Actually, no, hold on. Graveyard Date would go a little too hard.
Isn't that what I'm saying? Isn't that what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, bud. I hear what you're saying.
There's a lot to be said for uniqueness.
Real.
Taking a look at an Amplify squad that did take the lead by about 4 meters right now. Averting's on robot duty as of right now. Otters will be doing everything else themselves. Taking a look over here closer to point. Zomba looking for an angle on somebody. Doomed was the first. That's going to be a deflect. Now a dash in right now, and Doomed is going to be low on both cooldowns for a couple of seconds. Kuffa down. Zumba as well. Pinstrike kill feed as both teams do lose one. That's a pretty low over there. There comes the Terror Surge. And I got to say, Zeb has just got to get a little bit better on those ultimates on the Orisa.
Yeah, I feel these raw Terror Surges can only bring you so far. I mean, sure, you see someone on high ground or someone next to you, that doesn't exactly guarantee you're going to drag them in and be able to get that kill. You kind of have to combo it a little bit. Whether it be a little Lucio light love tap boop from Averting's, or maybe the Blizzard and the May wall doesn't exactly catch anybody in yet, but it should be enough to push Amplify further.
It's dead even. It's dead even. It's 57.8. This never happens. This never happens. Ty coming in. Ty coming in. Ty coming in.
Ty!
I've never seen a new Queen Street tie so far in Overwatch 2. I would love to see it. Obviously, it happened in Overwatch 1 decently often. RIP 2CP. Don't really miss you, though. I have mixed feelings. Wub right now with all the overhealing in the world is Doomed and Wub combining for 2. This is an Amplify squad that's got every ultimate in the book outside of the defensive ultimate that they just used. Bonzi Buddy is only looking at a beat drop on the other side as well. This is, well, we know who to expect is going to win this next team fight.
Quick, somebody tell either team to not move. It's 57.18 and 57.18. End the game. I don't care if it's a draw. It's perfect math. There we go. Bot is in contention, but there are 4 ultis up on the side of Amplify and only 2 on the side of Bonzi Buddies. I don't even... Let's talk about this is a real scary situation for either one.
Once again, Averting's just simply holds on to this one. The idea is to try and make sure that they drop it, but every ultimate in the book outside of the Junker Queen ultimate gonna be taken, and now the tiebreaker is coming on through here for Amplify. Just like that, a single team fight. Amplify drops 3. Bonzi Buddy holds on to the Orisa ultimate right there. That's what I was waiting for. Sorry, Zumba is doing a fantastic job on the Tracer so far. It was a pick onto Wub at the end of King's Road that would go forth and win them that map. 81 to 57 right now. We know the writing is on the wall, especially as we hit the last 5 seconds here. Amplify on the cusp of bringing the series back a little bit.
I was saying earlier that this is very much Amplify's map and mode and new Queen Street. I mean, I would say that, then again, this is the one map that kind of tilted them last time. It got them sent in the losers in the first place. But now we are into overtime, and on the side of Amplify, you have the Rampage, but then charge in with that, and Zeb could just as easily hit you with the Terror Surge. Kind of wasted, but Otters was still able to recover and find Dong Hung and Doom. I feel that could have been vital at such a later time, though.
Yeah, like, you're 100% right, Ash. You're 1,000% right. I'm gonna increase that math right there. The simple fact that Zeb, I mean, yeah, they're at 20%. Like, yeah, they got a lot after that, but that's not really gonna matter when this is overtime. It's a very real situation that you could be in, that you're not even gonna get up to another tank ultimate if your name is Bonzi Buddies, or yeah, Bonzi Buddies, excuse me. 61 meters, gonna get another 20. This is a lifetime in the game of Overwatch when it comes to push. Hanging out in the back, Zumba. Looking for something, now has this Tracer Sticky Bomb, picks up a little health pack along the way. Doomed would be a fantastic target, especially right before their ultimate, but it's going to be back to Wub. There, it's out, no stick for you. Here comes the Junker Queen ultimate, nasty purples, but this is overhealing on top of it, and tap. That Blizzard, not going to find a whole lot. That's going to be more so, though, as Kuffa finds Averting's. Doom trying for something, but sink or swim. Feast of Famine, whatever you want to call it, that is going to yield naught. Here comes the Kitsune Rush just for a little bit on the backside. Wub stalling out, not going to be enough. Here's now Donghun, the seat bait has been dropped, no contest, and this is Bonzi Buddies punching their ticket on in to the grand finals, Ash.
Man, as a Gladiators fan, I am no stranger to disappointment, and for Amplify, that's a tough one as Bonzi Buddies, really beating the allegations of being a poor spyware built in 1999 and now find themselves being an even better Overwatch team, able to trounce Amplify on their own map and mode. Who would have possibly thought?
Man, the 3-0 right here. Last time, folks, it was the 3-1. It was a lot more even-handed as it is. New Queen Street decides that is not going to be the case. Some fantastic stuff and plenty of opportunities. Just to break this one down a little bit more, we'll have replays here for you guys for just a second. If Amplify plays around Cuff a little bit more, this game ends differently. If Donghun hangs on to ultimate and more so has the exact okay, I'm literally just holding this for when DPSs start screaming on the other side like Verdings was doing, perhaps a different story. Perhaps we even see this game still going and not even completed there on New Queen Street. Technically, you can go on in overtime for forever right there. Would have loved to see it. Not going to be what the case is here on the day, though. Amplify going to punch the ticket on into third. $600 will be their prize, Ash.
Man, that's a really tough one. You punch your ticket to grand finals. And Amplify, of course, they don't go home with just without nothing, right? $600, between you, like we calculated earlier, that's about $120. So putting that to some laundry, maybe collegiate here, you're probably going to be left by two at the end of the day. Depends on what you spend it on. But other than that, you're absolutely right. If they just anchored and played around Kuffa a little more going into this, it would have been a totally different result. And Bonzi Buddies, especially breaking the ice just a little bit, would have been top on the side of Amplify, quite literally, in dealing with Tap and the Mei. Just wasn't enough because you saw the isolation, whether it be at gym or under bridge, was just big time.
Yeah, especially when Mei gets these isolation plays, they're able to go forth, get walls behind tanks or other more immobile characters right there, is just going to be a GG quickly. That was what we saw consistently throughout this, and especially the Mei here on the end, especially auto game mode like push. You're talking about Blizzard, especially overtime. It's just well, now you can't occupy that space, and the win condition, writing on the wall, is just kind of there and whatnot. Big shout out to Amplify and the efforts that they have made to get to this point, as well as to Bonzi Buddies going in for a little rematch action in the grand finals. Taking a look at some of the replays across this one, we're obviously in Saravasa right now.
Yeah, looking back at Saravasa and really thinking back on it, and that whatever Tap went, Bonzi Buddies just kind of followed. So rather than just anchor yourself around the tank, anchoring yourself around the Mei was really some good plays, provided some interesting ones at that, and then playing high ground positioning. Also, another top thing, but Zomba on DPS really stood out, really shined from everybody else here. As the railgun, the overclock, whatever you can think of possibly just under the sun, had Amplify trounced, but being able to isolate Cal and Donghun, I really feel came #1 clutch for them.
That was probably my favorite 1v, the Baptiste on Echo for the copy right there. Pumps up their self-healing and just puts put through the thumb screws applied right there. The tri-shot landing all the way through. This match is decided, overall outcome was, by the tanks in every way, shape, and form.
Man.
You had to play that one. You had to play that one, Solomon. You had to play Lucio Boo.
I am personally really sad because my stocks are down as Wub Nation has just really fallen. GDP and economy in shambles, if you will. It's a tough one, but I feel Amplify played their best. Of course, we just can't end this without giving something to them, right? Of course, they played their damnness, but Amplify, in the end, just wasn't enough. They were not able to break the ice, quite literally, on this one, and losers finals will go to Bonzi Buddies in a stunning 3-0 fashion, might I add.
Yeah, Amplify spends exactly 0 time in the lower side of the bracket, in the losers bracket right there. It gets put here by our current grand finalist standings. Now Bonzi Buddy is going to be joining them here soon. Amplify, despite their best efforts, just simply going to take that third place finish, which is not, I mean, it's for playing some Overwatch over a weekend, right? $120 per player, and that's if, of course, if no one else has taken a lion's share of that prize pool. $3,400, that's essentially what this next matchup is going to be worth. First place is going to be taking down 2K, second place with $1,400.
I will say, I really should have just started playing in Berry Blast a while back and be like, okay, casting is cool, but man, if we're talking like $3,400 to really share throughout, let me just crack out my Platinum Lucio gameplay real quick and it would have been fine from there. But for the rest of these teams, and I will say for Bonzi Buddies, knowing how LeftRightGnight play and the fact that they are already in grand finals, putting it this way, it's going to essentially be like Cody Rhodes versus 3-year champion Roman Reigns and trying to fight such an uphill battle. And LeftRightGnight, of course, if I had to predict, it's going to be back and forth, maybe 1-1, 2-2, and then playing for that end game, it's a tough one. And Bonzi Buddies really have it cut out for them, but they play like this, like they did against Amplify here in Losers Finals, the zoning, the isolation, and really just tap and zeb with that tag team action. I have faith in them.
I was wondering how long it was going to take until we got a wrestling reference here, Ash. I appreciate you saving it until after map number 3 right here. Our producer's pointing it out as well, man. Bonzi did the entire lower bracket run, right? Like literally from losers round 1 all the way down here. This really, really was an absolutely inspiring performance, especially given they come in and play against Inarizaki, I hope I'm saying that correctly, lose a map, which, you know, is kind of like, oh, a little bit of pressure. Timeless had an easier time with them. The Pirates in Pajamas are forced to walk the plank there, 3-1 situation. Samsara also takes a map here, so it just kind of seems like, you know, like the middle chunk, right? The middle chunk of this lower bracket run for the Bonzi Buddies is very, very infrequently taken 3-0 fashion. In fact, Timeless is the only team they were able to get that done with until Amplify came on in here and they were able to use the pressure. Comes from a loser's final matchup to go forth and force the 3-0. Folks, we're going to go to a very short break. When we return, because the Berry Blast, we got to give you guys content. We're going to be back with a little interview action. I believe that is Zamba coming on in here to give us a minute of their time after the game. Ash, do we have anything else for the good people before we go to a very quick break?
Anything else? Not exactly for now. We want to save that for the interview, and I think we are going to be good on that too.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Be right back. Just a couple of minutes. Hey, hello and welcome back. We keep our promises here at the Berry Blast. It was a short break. FBI Tugboat, Ash, we are here. Little post-game interview action coming in for you guys. This is Zomba coming on in to give us a minute of their time post-action. Zomba, you with us?
Yep.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. First and foremost, the very standard post-game interview question. How you feeling? How you feeling after the 3-0?
Feeling, normal. Just another day.
Punch the clock, just another day at the office here for Zomba and the rest of Bonzi buddies, people. Absolutely love that. Let's hop into this one a little bit. Ash is definitely going to ask you about you guys' lower bracket run, but specifically here, most recent matchup against Amplify. Let me ask, is this a match that you anticipated going down to 3-0, or is this a match you anticipated having a little bit more flack caught?
Well, I mean, in all our other matches, it's been 3-1, so we expected, I expected at least to maybe at least drop a map, but they weren't playing very great, so we were able to 3-0. Because for being real, Kings Row should not have been ours for the taking, but kind of trolled.
I hear you. It seemed like there was a little bit of back and forth right there, and the coordination on both teams could have just been turned up to the nth, right? Just like a little bit, just to clean up on the edges right there, and this would have been a bat that went either way more handedly. Ash?
Yeah, of course, and I will be honest, you say that Kings Row should have been theirs, but if we're talking Amplify, 100% say Suravasa and Flashpoint should have been theirs as well. Now, how did you guys plan out your strategy knowing this was a tougher team than usual?
I mean, I don't know. Suravasa, it's just our map. Suravasa is we just I don't know, we just play. There's not much of a strategy. It's kind of just like Orisa just never dies.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Also had me worried knowing that Orisa in these past couple of times has been a bit of a bullet sponge, but I also have to ask, why the Orisa May combo, especially knowing it is a little high risk, especially on these maps as well?
Well, when Orisa May is really strong against Queen, I feel like, because the Queen just runs in, and if you get a wall, the Queen either dies or you force out a bunch of cooldowns, and then you can just go in.
Yeah, that is understandable. I will pass this back to Tugboat, but before that, just be sure to say hi to the rest of the team for me. California Collegiate would like to stick together, so I will say that for sure.
Love that little personal connection there from Ash. Standard question, especially, I live in Las Vegas, you got to ask, what are you, sir, going to do with the winnings, whether that be the part, your part of the $2,000 or your part of the $1,400 lose or win?
I'm not sure. I'll probably just save it. I don't have much things to spend it on.
Love it. Most boring answer possible, but definitely the smartest and most mature answer to, hey, what are you going to do with a couple $100 right here? Last question here, Zomba, of course. Predictions for grand finals?
I don't know. We'll see. I think we're gonna win, but we'll see.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
We'll try our best. Everyone will try their best. We'll see.
You go to different esports, right? And Overwatch players are always really reserved and respectful when it comes to that question. You get your CODs, you get your Apex Legends. It's like, oh, this is going to be a one-sided slobber knocker. We're going to take them down as easy free cash. But I love it. I love it. Again, the more reserved, mature answer here from Zomba. I appreciate it. Last question, sir. Do you have any shout-outs? We know that no player gets to where they are here in Overwatch 2 by themselves.
Gotta shout out Otters. Guy's the GOAT. And Zeb. It's his birthday. It was his birthday yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, there you go. Oh, yeah, it was the Zeb boost. The Zeb boost, right?
Yeah, it's the birthday buff.
Birthday buff, Zeb boost. Absolutely love it. Zomba, once again, thank you for coming on and give us a minute of your time after. And once you get you on back to your team, have you guys prepare for this grand finals.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. FBI Tugboat here in Asher Vok. We have been very, very excited to bring you this semifinals match. As this casting schedule has been mixed up a little bit, I do believe the GOAT, yes, that's Dor, coming on in to give you guys a little bit of that audible chocolate, that liquid gold spilling forth from the throat. Absolutely love it. That's going to be it for me, though, guys. If you enjoyed what you heard here on the day, my hat's down there, and you'd be silly, you'd be absolutely insane not to follow Berry Blast and kind of see what they're going to be doing with Overwatch's future and whatnot, Ash.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, if they'd love to have me, I'd love to stick around just for a little longer because Overwatch, weirdly enough, I got started back as just a pathetic little Reinhardt main, finally found my Lucio groove, got into casting. That's how I ended up here, but if you'd also like to follow me for more shenanigans, please do. The @ is right in the
There you go,
corner, and the
over there.
same goes... Wait, hold on, can it?
I
Yeah,
always
the
do it. I
little
literally
@ right
always do it
there.
backwards. Like it. Yeah,
So
oh well.
at Ashervok, the #1 castervok, of course, and I was just happy to be here with Tugboat, one of my favorite casters in the scene as well.
You're a sweetheart, and I appreciate you. Looking on at this next, just to give our predictions before we leave, I'm saying 3-1, but it is going to go with the team that has spent the entirety of this competition up there in that top bracket, in that winner's bracket right here. It would be amazing to watch the lower bracket run all the way down, literally 3 zeros and 3 1s, all the way with smooth sailing, and then come in and put in a fantastic performance there in grand finals. But like I said, writing's on the wall, and we got to give you our best predictions. FBI Tugboat, Ashervok, do you have anything else for the good people, Ashervok, before we go to a short break? That'll be it for me, and Dora will be coming up.
Yeah, of course, prediction-wise, listen, finish the story, Amplas. Not, excuse me, not Amplas. Finish the story, Bonzi buddies. Please do. This is quite literally your equivalent WrestleMania moment. Do it here in Barry Blast, I beg, especially as a UCSC student who may be transferring out fairly soon. 100%. Just gun it. Light them up, if you will, in grand finals, and we will be watching.
Love it. That we will be. That we definitely will be. FBI Tugboat, Ashervok, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back after a very short break for grand finals.
It has been a phenomenal weekend. 40 teams from these past 2 weeks have entered, but now only 2 remain here in the Barrie Community Blast Encore as we now enter into the grand finals. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Tonks. Joining me, none other than the amazing Door. Or, you're joining us here for the grand finals, but I know you've been watching the entire weekend, so give it to me in a distilled format. How have you been feeling going into today?
Well, it's really hard to boil down into just one feeling because, I look at the finals and it could have been any of these teams, realistically. Looking at the quality of roster that we were getting throughout the entire tournament, like you said, 40 teams is a lot to boil down to anything, but every single one of the rosters from, even top 8 in, all had, what you would look at off rip and say, championship contending rosters, but we end up here with LeftRightGnight and Bonzi Buddies. LeftRightGnight, maybe a little more unsurprising, but Bonzi Buddies have made the lower bracket run of a lifetime, and so it would be nice for them to crown it off, but I also think there's some shouts on LeftRightGnight for people who could use a win right about now.
Going back and talking about Bonzi Buddies and what they've just been able to accomplish, and you think about it, sent into the lower bracket at the very beginning of this weekend, and then, like you said, run of a lifetime, but it wasn't easy either. Right? These teams, they're not easy teams. We have Pirates in Pajamas, Samsara, P's and Q's, and then just coming off of their win against Amplify in a 3-0 fashion. But Door, what I think is even more interesting, looking at that run through in the lower bracket, they didn't drop more than one map against their opponent.
I was going to say the exact opposite. I said they dropped a map pretty much every series. It's not an easy lower bracket run. It's not like an oopsies, we lost the first round, I guess we'll just beat everybody in the lower bracket. No, it's like we lost first round and it's going to be a slog to get back. And it's been exactly that up until today. And that 3-0 against Amplify was it was pretty handy. We were all watching it, right? That was a controlled 3-0. Yes, there were a couple close maps in there, but by and large, Bonzi Buddies were just in control of the series. And if they're playing like that for grand finals, which they're going to need to against LeftRightGnight, they probably stand a pretty solid chance at making the run.
Hey, you know what? We've been looking at the losers bracket, so let's go ahead and see what just has been going on for LeftRightGnight with the winners bracket, seeing what they've been able to do, seeing how they've accomplished what they've accomplished, right? And again, somewhat similar score lines when looking at how this team has been playing. It's again, right? A flawless run through here in the upper bracket. LeftRightGnight taking on not easy teams still though. Crazy 88s, Timeless Obsidian, Starburst, and then again with Amplify. And now LeftRightGnight's looking at their final opponent, Bonzi Buddies. Both of these teams locked eyes with each other and wondering who is going to be able to come out on top. Not only that, Door, but a $4,000 prize pool waiting for whoever is going to be that victor.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line, and I think you got to be ready for a long series if you're both of these teams, right? You're coming in both off pretty hot runs, all things considered, and I think the 2 most recent victories for them, especially with LeftRightGnight, Amplify, and Starburst being their last 2 opponents, I had the opportunity to watch a couple of those games, and in seeing them, you saw a lot of adaptation from LeftRightGnight, and for me, looking towards a series length of 5 maps, I think that'll bode pretty well for them, especially with the experience that they bring on that roster. But speaking of those, let's go ahead and take a look at LeftRightGnight and exactly what makes them so terrifying, because this is an all-star roster if there ever was one. I'll start from the DPS line and work our way around to the tank here, because I think that might be the most interesting part here. Vision and Lethal, 2 players who have played together before, who are an incredibly viable duo, who bring lots of mechanical ability, but also you'll see plenty of coordination between those 2 and a lot of very quick kills where you'll see Vision be able to follow up on Lethal's damage and Lethal be able to follow up on Vision's damage despite having started off on exact opposite sides of the map. Keep an eye out for them. Luke, Mino, and Lep, what do you have to say about this backline? I don't know if anybody can reasonably say that there's a better one out there right now than what these 2 are putting up, and the way that they're playing as well has just been so consistent. But on your screen is the player that I think I want to highlight most about this team, and a player that has kind of stood just on the edges, the outskirts of the limelight for some time, in Icy, who in Contenders we've given so much credit for widening their hero pool upon Overwatch 2 releasing, right? A lot of the off-tanks weren't being played nearly as much. That Sigma Diva hero pool wasn't as useful. Spent hours and hours and hours triple scrim blocks in the lab learning the Winston, and has ever since continued to do that in every single meta, to the point where regardless of what's being thrown at Icy, Icy has an answer, and Icy is at least able to match and usually go even against some of the best players on those specific heroes. And it is so impressive to see a single player tank line be able to put out what Icy does. Even if it's not always a carry performance, it is almost never in any matchup, in any meta, a losing performance, and that kind of consistency is so appreciated.
And even more so when you think about the Overwatch 2 tank. It's a solo endeavor. There's no one to back you up. There's no off tank to bail you out of any situation. So a lot of these spearheaded efforts, when you are that tank, you have to know the ins and out of your hero without a doubt. And we've seen that time and time again here from Icy. It's obviously been put on display throughout what has been the course of the Barry Community Blast Encore tournament, and has obviously brought LeftRightGnight all the way into the grand finals. And just talking about in conjunction with the rest of the team as well, filled with some insane players. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next roster of Bonzi Buddies. And this Door is a team that's been working together for a long time. They've been gelling together for a long time, and they've been through a lot together.
Yeah, this one's just kind of weird. Like you see the makings of a good team in here. You see some of those like really notable contenders names popping around. Debit in the management, you shouldn't really draw yourself short on. Certainly somebody that brings a lot to the table. Otter's a lot of experience as well. Zeb, Tap, names that we've seen float around for a bit. Zomba's been on the edge for some time, but it feels like Barry Blast Encore has just been their opportunity to kind of come together and show that teamwork that they've been forging in the fires for so long, and that's what's gotten them here. That's what's going to get them through a grand finals, is that level of coordination and willingness to stick together and belief in one another.
And here's the interesting thing about these two teams going up against each other, Door. It's not the first time, right? This has been something that is an ongoing rematch between LeftRightGnight and Bonzi Buddies, but Bonzi Buddies have never quite been able to stand up. LeftRightGnight just has that 1-2 punch that has consistently kept Bonzi Buddies away from being able to find a win against them. Even just talking about the group stage, right? Went 3-1 against them, still ended up in a loss. I mean, you talk about the pedigree of the teams that they've been going up against for Bonzi Buddies, but now they've reached the final boss. They've reached the one team that has given them the trouble time and time again across all different aspects of the Overwatch competitive scene.
I do think they bring something a little different to the table this time, though. We've seen a lot of the Orisa competition over the weekend, but I feel like no team has really kind of gotten it like Bonzi Buddies has. Yes, I mean, let's be real with ourselves. A lot of these compositions are like the same. It's like the same nougaty center with a different shell casing that makes it look a little different on the outside, and like what tank variation you want to play, and whether that involves an Ana or a Baptiste or like maybe a Kiriko if you're feeling like really spicy. But a lot of them are going to play a little similar, but the Orisa iteration that's come around, we've seen a lot of teams try it, and not as many teams come up with the goods with it. It feels like it hasn't clicked for them quite yet, but that it definitely can work. And I think Bonzi Buddies are showing us exactly what it looks like when it does work, and with a tank player like Zeb, who's looked so phenomenal on the Orisa, who doesn't miss spears, whose cooldown management has been, I think, bar none, some of the best that we've seen on the Orisa in terms of this tournament. That's what I want to see them try and take to the opposing side, because LeftRightGnight have a lot more of the traditional compositions from this meta really, really down pat.
Yeah, obviously it's been working out so well. I think that the other thing that was a lot of fun to watch was that final matchup that they had against Amplify, that final push map on New Queen Street, where it was literal final few meters that Bonzi Buddies were able to brass back and eventually take the full 3-0 series against Amplify. And then you look at the composition that they've been running the entirety across pretty much the entire series has just been nothing short of amazing here. But Door, a little bit of technical issues going on here in the back line. So we're going to go to a small break, get some of those sorted out. We'll be right back. All right, everything's been resolved. Our players figured out where the power button is, and now we even come back to you with map number 1. Of course, starting off on Flashpoint, only 2 maps, only 2 choices. So where better to go to door than New Junk City? Kind of a strange choice, though, to say the least.
What's strange about it? Wait, I don't. There's 2. New Junk City and Sorabasa are like the 2 options that were floating. I believe the pick did go to LeftRightGnight. I think if you want to play the Junker Queen like they likely do, or like if you want to play the Ram, I mean, it's icy. So the pool's pretty wide of options that they would want to take into this Orisa. But New Junk City, to me, is going to give them the most options to kind of flex around with. Granted, there are very few like large meta shifts from Flashpoint map to Flashpoint map, but I do feel like this one is slightly different, and they may just feel they have a better understanding of the architecture in general. I think that's what a lot of teams are focusing on with Flashpoint, is just which one do they feel more comfortable on. And for LeftRightGnight, it's this, and they're bringing that Orisa to the table. It is a mirror matchup. This is something that Icy has been putting the hours into. It wasn't something that we saw Icy play all that much beforehand, but like I said, new meta comes, Icy almost always adapts, and now trying to head-to-head Bonzi buddies on a composition that they've been championing is pretty interesting. But what's more interesting is that Vision is bringing a Bastion to the table. How are they going to play this one?
We're all curious, all questions abound, but now the grand finals have officially started. Bonzi Buddies versus LeftRightGnight. Vision denied some usage of that turret by the wall that came up, but they are chewing through the health pool of Zeb, forcing them down onto the ground below. And Icy does not want to let this stranglehold on Zomba go, looking for any of the targets that they can, but down below, Bonzi Buddies are going to get the first capture. LeftRightGnight is still here to fight, and fight they are.
Yeah, I feel like the low ground may have been dropped a little early by Bonzi Buddies, but they managed to get all 5 back up on high ground, grouped up enough to take down Lucamino. No flex support, no win, no siree. LeftRightGnight getting sent back to spawn.
Couldn't have been done any easier than that here for Bonzi Buddies. They get the point, they get the kills, and didn't suffer anything out of the other side of that. And the ult economy is looking nothing short of spectacular, Door.
Yeah, I mean, you bring a lot out of it just through the damage that they were able to output. LeftRightGnight will be able to match it in a lot of ways, and I think the Bastion artillery form will not be unwelcome in terms of making space on this high ground and pushing Bonzi Buddies either away or down onto that point. Either way, reclaiming that space is going to be pretty difficult to do. If they want to fire back with that sound barrier, though, following the initial ultimate barrage from LeftRightGnight, they could have a real strong counterpunch.
And both teams are just eyeing each other from across the way, seeing where the damage can be done. Oh my goodness, Vision! What have you done to Bonzi Buddies? The most beautiful grenade in the world, then following it up with a straight 1-2 punch from the amplification matrix. Give it all up to Vision, giving LeftRightGnight this point inside of overtime.
Yeah, I mean, Vision, a lot of credit for landing that nice little ricochet off the wall, but Lucamino as well, credit has to be given for the coordination that goes into stuff like that. Completely calmed, completely organized, and that Bastionette Matrix combo is one that we've seen plenty of time before. I think back to other times when the Bastion's been recently run 6 months or so ago, something we saw a lot, and Bonzi Buddies certainly weren't ready for it, I'll tell you that much. This time, though, they've got a lot of tools. It's how long can they hold that sound barrier is the real question.
And let's see if Zomba's aim is on board. It is 1. Already starting off the board and taking down the nuisance that has been Vision with this Bastion, turning their eyes finally to the big tank themselves. Bonzi Buddies lost the point, but they're already here to take it right back. Get the first capture.
Well, I think this point is on ice, and potentially the next one off the back of that. An Ajax for no sound barrier on the other side is really brutal. In terms of resources available, it's going to be 4 ults versus 3 coming into this next point. That carry rush should come up pretty soon, but the initial engagement seems a little sooner. The sound barrier now is the trump card for Bonzi Buddies.
Icy trying to skirt their way, but Bonzi Buddies wants to go for the Terror Surge. Suck them right in, but Vision's artillery strike is going to get rid of avertings, and now Bonzi Buddies doesn't have that maneuverability that comes with having your Lucio. Lethal to follow it up with the Dragon Blade. LeftRightGnight making sure that they don't fall before this point unlocks. They are not, and they've gotten rid of the enemy.
Yeah, it's a tough call whether or not you drop that sound barrier from Avertings, and clearly it definitely was the go button that they needed to survive that fight, but the second it comes out, you're going to get bladed. Tricky situation all around. now at least the silver lining that you find yourself with is that you do have 2 support ultimates. So sustain is a plenty for Bonzi Buddies in this fight. LeftRightGnight, it's about surviving the onslaught that's about to come their way on this point.
And already we're seeing the Foxes. Bonzi Buddies full speed ahead to try and meet them here. The amplification matrix gather a little bit of space. Luke Mino, so scary. And the scares have turned into reality. They are gone, and now Bonzi Buddy sees an opportunity to fight out on the point, bring themselves onto here. Icy just cannot survive through everything that Bonzi Buddies have, and this has been just back and forth, but Bonzi Buddies feel so in control.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of getting such a strong engagement off. I do think picking off Luke Mino is pretty much the highest value target they could get. Everdings and that sound barrier aren't going to be an advantage much longer, though, as Lep has come back around to a whole entire second sound barrier before Evertings could actually pop it. Can Zomba be the difference maker, though? Is the question. And do you engage this fight with that overclock? Because if you do it and then that sound barrier gets pressed, it might get a better beat for you, but you also might get disengaged. Risky either way.
Yeah, Zomba has a lot to think about here. That wall may make things easier. All right, here we're going to have it. The immortality field goes up, and the beat has been used in response to the overclock. They see their targets, but no one is going to lose their head just yet. Keep an eye here for Bonzi Buddy Zeb, needing to use the natural cover to stay alive and coming back up to full. But throughout all of this, LeftRightGnight is going to run right over them all. And didn't really need to commit too much here, Door, either, to make it happen.
No, it was a really well-laid fight plan. They understood what was available. They come in, the overclock gets popped, it's sound barrier in response. They know they're going to have the worst beat. Everdings comes in, drops the better sound barrier, as you would expect, but Bonzi Buddies are unable to capitalize because LeftRightGnight were ready to disengage. They knew they would have the worst beat and made out like bandits the second that the better beat came down. Now they've got tools to take this fight, and some very powerful ones in that blade as well.
So difficult for Bonzi Buddies to find the fight.
Whoa, okay.
They didn't even want to contest the point. LeftRightGnight is going to take this, and now this is the best situation, the scenario that they could be asking for, as Bonzi Buddies retreats over towards where the next flashpoint is going to be opening. Both teams holding on to the ultimates as best they can, preparing for this next team fight.
Yeah, the initial clash is kind of what we want to watch here. Who loses more between that Amp Matrix and the Kitsune Rush? It's certainly going to be a bloody first engagement with ultimates on the back end of those two.
That's just going to be on their side. LeftRightGnight. Speed is more on their side, but now we're going to have the Foxes give Bonzi Buddies the emboldening fury that they're hopefully going to be trying to find here. But even with this on their side, it's really just pushing LeftRightGnight away from this. Bonzi Buddies are going to be on the point itself and taking the capture of it. There you have it, Zomba. Not going to let this go without them being put on the kill feed. Oh, but wait a minute.
LeftRightGnight aren't done quite yet. A blade out from Lethal, looking for the backline, gets flash up on the Arista, can't quite find the cure. He is able to clean up a second, though. No supports left now for Bonzi Buddies. It is Zeb fighting for their life. Not enough HP to land the Terror Surge either. It's a point and a fight cleaned up by LeftRightGnight.
LeftRightGnight getting this point as Bonzi Buddies inching over close to 40%. One ultimate on the side of this team, that Terror Surge, and we've seen the way that Icy has the intelligence of manipulating it to prevent Bonzi Buddies from finding much value. Whether or not they're going to be able to do it here again, it's left up in the air.
It's all about that Terror Surge for LeftRightGnight. They can deny so much space, and the earlier sound barrier from Left could help them sustain should this thing go long.
Lethal's going toe-to-toe with Zeb. Kind of putting it all into chaos, and Zomba barely scraping by with an inch of their health to talk about here. But it's still LeftRightGnight. Oh, Zeb. They don't miss with these javelins, and Luke Mino being the first blood. A major source of healing gone. Left forced to use the sound barrier to make sure that the team is live, but Evertings has one of their own, and now Bonzi Buddies with numbers, with the health, and with the beat, feeling like they're going to try and be able to get LeftRightGnight. Icy inside of that disruption field. Gone and out of here. Bonzi Buddies forcing them off once more and getting control of this point.
Yeah, sound barrier seems like a big spend there when you're 4v5, but I think they were just trying to trade sound barriers to make space for Lethal's blade that's going to come in on the front and or back end of this fight. That being said, there's not tools available for Bonzi Buddies. There's a lot of offensive opportunity between that overclock and the Kitsune Rush to try and beat out Lethal and Vision.
Oh, and you're going to have the artillery strike popped right off of the bat. Zomba looking to be able to use the overclock, but disrupted by this artillery strike, held on so cleanly, and Zomba's not having any opportunities. They're not finding much here. One of the railguns landed onto Lethal, but now with them being able to survive and not much in the way to stop them, they are chewing through the back line. But the back line is proving to be just way too tough for them to fight against here. Bonzi Buddy stands tall. They are alive. And now they're going to be taking the lead on this flashpoint.
Yeah, what a power ult from Otters there, empowering the team with the Kitsune Rush right when LeftRightGnight decided they wanted to strike. They did a great job. They waited out the overclock. They pulled all the health bars back up and then decided to go in with Lethal's Blade. But even with a Blade available, 5 people standing in a Kitsune Rush will ruin your day very, very quickly. Now, coming into what is potentially a penultimate point for this flashpoint map, Bonzi Buddies are looking to take it home and have first control with a blizzard to boot. So trying to attack this space is going to be very difficult with the amount of zone control that Tap's going to offer.
Map point. Bonzi Buddies. They can close it out here. Map number 1 is going to be theirs. They have the ultimates to make it happen. LeftRightGnight. The amplification matrix online and the barrier to follow very soon. It's all just about building towards this penultimate moment, making sure to go toe-to-toe with them. And the Blizzard right there, kind of trying to draw Zeb onto it and bring them over towards it. And Zomba does not miss. This amplification matrix needing to be used. Zeb caught out right in the perfect moment and averting to just a little bit of health. Does get the sound barrier off to keep them up and going. But Bonzi Buddies, headless it feels like, with no tank on their side, is just being bullied away by LeftRightGnight.
Far from over yet. Zeb being out of the fight is critical, but Zomba tries to pull it back. Overclock chucked into the backline, but an overextension trying to find the play. Icy patiently waiting as ever. The Apex Predator on the edge of the point is just lurking, waiting for the prey to approach. Now with 4 players behind them, Icy can decide to try and push this point with a couple of very powerful ultimates in that Terror Surge and the artillery.
And even more critical during that fight, Bonzi Buddies were able to regain control of this flashpoint, now ticking upwards. LeftRightGnight only 10% off of that very bloody last fight. Now we're going to see what can be done from Vision. In comes the bombshells, trying to disrupt, trying to throw Bonzi Buddies off their game, but they are not going to be faltering. They are not going to let this slip through their fingers. How could they, with how close everything is to them? Now the Terror Surge from Icy, drawing in Zeb, and down goes the tank once more. Bonzi Buddies need to find the opening, need to find the in, but it does not going to be happening. LeftRightGnight regains control, and this is everything in front of us, Door.
Yeah, the Bastion ultimate, yes, it doesn't necessarily get kills, but it's something you kind of have to think of as more of a space-making tool, right? It separated away Zeb from the supports, forced Zeb back further onto the point, took half of Zeb's health bar that never really recovered in that fight, so eventually it slowly tips the scales in favor of LeftRightGnight and allows them to finish off with the Terror Surge. Now, they've got plenty of tools still to counter this.
Oh, lethal. A pulse bomb. Playing it so patiently. This could be the critical juncture here for this Tracer player if they can land it. They need to keep an eye on the Otter's protection Suzu, and Tap comes in with the Blizzard once more, icing them all out. It's just free, it feels like, here for Bonzi Buddies, and even with the stick from Lethal, nowhere near enough to stop Bonzi Buddies. This is Bonzi Buddies' chance to take the map.
Yeah, I don't know if we wanted to see the Pulse Bomb come out there. I mean, yes, it's not the greatest tool in the world, but it is a tool that they could have tried to turn this point around with. Maybe they didn't see another fight in it. We'll see if they're right about that one. Bonzi Buddies, did they try and hold them off the point in entirety, or do they welcome the engagement and try to beat them out with zone control?
Run to overtime. No other way that this can end. Bonzi Buddies have the ultimates. Terror Surge and an overclock. And Zomba's looking to end things right here, right now. You've even brought out the sound barrier from Lep in response to this. So dangerously low on the health, but ready to peek out once more to take the fight to LeftRightGnight. In comes the Terror Surge. Bring them all in. And Lep, the first casualty. Everyone else, the pieces are falling into place for Bonzi Buddies, one after another. And the team that has gone through the lower bracket are continuing to raise eyes here in map number 1 of the grand finals.
It feels like they have so much going for them on this composition. The way it's worked out for them up until now, the coordination that we see in this match, the ability to respond to the Bastion pick, that initially did put quite a fold in the plans of Bonzi Buddies. By the end, it felt like it wasn't a big deal really at all. And Zombo was able to produce kind of a lot more than the Bastion was on that Sojourn, especially with the threat of Overclock pulling things like Sound Barrier and forcing out better beats consistently.
I think the proof was right there too, just from that play of the game alone, and what Zeb has on the understanding of Orisa. I mean, being able to land javelin hits like that, but controlling the flow and the pacing of how this entire matchup goes. I'm harkening back to where Zeb was kind of throwing themselves out there, getting so dangerously low on their health that LeftRightGnight saw that as an opportunity maybe to get rid of the tank, but instead was just a call for a blizzard to happen, entrapping them inside of it, and then rushing forward to be able to push LeftRightGnight away. And this just consistency and the way that Bonzi Buddies have not only just been playing in this map that we saw from them, but in the entirety of the tournament when you're looking towards them, it's no wonder the lower bracket run they've had, and it's no wonder what they've been able to accomplish here, just even on map number 1.
Yeah, and it wasn't without its close fights either. LeftRightGnight came out swinging. I think the Bastion composition was cool. I feel like Icy was actually going blow for blow with Zeb in a lot of ways, which is, again, kind of what I was talking about, that specialty of Icy of like, yeah, this isn't Icy's character, it is Zeb's character, but Icy will usually still manage to trade at least about even against some of the best players in their roles, and did so very, very often, pulling overextensions out of Zeb. Granted, like, making mistakes, and Zeb was going kind of 50-50 in terms of who was getting the most of it. And look at the stats. I mean, the damage, dead even. Elim's not, but I think that's more a product of the fights not going as often LeftRightGnight's ways than necessarily anything on Icy's front. The deaths just about even, which again, considering the fights, is probably more of a boon to Icy than anything. Ultimate's used, you know, is a stat that exists that might not really affect this too much. But you see kind of how they're going blow for blow in terms of that Orisa, and it, again, so impressive to see Icy just pick something up and take it to the field like this. But that being said, Zeb is still absolutely terrifying on it. What I want to really focus on, though, is the backlines. We talked and we hailed and we praised so much this Luke Mino backline, and by all means, I mean, if you were to draft a backline out of this tournament, you're looking at that one, you're like, yeah, I probably want Luke Mino, but it's not been without its mistakes. And I don't mean that in the way of like, okay, there were better beats coming out from Avertings, because those were more ineffective the rest of the ultimate economy more often than not. And Lep was doing a good job of managing the sound barrier in order to make sure that things like Lethal's Blade were able to come off really effectively, trading a better beat to get a better blade later on. But things like Luke Mino getting picked off, what, like 2-3 times before fights even got started. Lep took an Ajax earlier on. It's mistakes that any players can make, but in terms of the players here that we expect to play the cleanest Overwatch, I think Lep and Luke Mino are very high towards the top of that list, and I think it's a standard that they would normally hold themselves to. And to see that many deaths from kind of off situations in a map like that, it really is a difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, miscoordination, misfiring, in a couple of these scenarios here for LeftRightGnight just started compounding in ways that they could never quite recover from. But it's also map number 1, right, Dor? It's LeftRightGnight hasn't played today yet. Bonzi Buddies, previous matchup, warmed up, ready to go. LeftRightGnight may just need this one to shake it off, really get back into the groove of things. And I mean, even just looking at the DPS lineup of Lethal and Vision, they were doing phenomenal jobs, but Lethal didn't get, I think, as much value out of the Dragon Blade either on the ultimate times that they've used them. And then we look towards when they tried to switch over to the Tracer, obviously in response to getting back to the point as fast as they possibly can. Sure, they were able to land at least one stick, but that stick didn't really compound to anything more than what we just saw out of doing a smidge of damage to Zeb at the end of a team fight. And so whether or not LeftRightGnight just needs to get back in sync, just needed that map to get there, they still have, at the very least, 2 more maps to go to correct things.
Absolutely, and their next pick is going to be King's Row, and I think this is a spicy one. Lethal and Vision in particular, I think, are 2 people that you want to watch on this map. Vision in particular is somebody that you want to watch on this map. Whether or not they bring out the Hanzo, always kind of a question. You know, I will always love a little bit more Vision Hanzo. But regardless, it's a map that Vision in particular has thrived on massively in the past and is a huge threat in terms of just pushing the map forward off the back of individual picks alone. What they want to bring in the tank line, still up for grabs, but I do suspect it's probably a little bit more of that Orisa.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, especially here for Bonzi Buddies. It's a very consistent composition that they like to run with. And LeftRightGnight, I mean, they were kind of meeting it on map number 1. They were kind of meeting it on New Junk City. So if Icy and if the rest of the lineup just needed that one map to really grind, to get the gears going and get the gears moving, warm up and get the jive flowing again, we'll find out here on Kings Row. But I mean, you know, you look at the way that this map is played, and you also have the understanding of the players that are on both of these teams. You're hearkening to Vision and the Hanzo gameplay that they have, something that it can be devastating destruction of force, of nature, so to speak, when you're talking about these players. And so whether or not we can get that translation with Kings Row, LeftRightGnight, I wouldn't be surprised if we do.
Yeah, I mean, as it's tough being a caster watching Vision because you just want to see Vision lock the Hanzo all the time, but like there doesn't always do it as often as you wish, and there certainly are picks. I mean, the Sojourn's just so powerful, right? The opportunity to bring something like that to the table is real, and I think Vision understands the value that it does. It's a comp swap for them over to a slightly different look, but let's be real, it's like same comp, different font. We've changed the tank at the front of it, but by and large, it's still going to function relatively similarly. I like what this Ramattra does, though, is while, yes, the kind of ways that the DPS play out in lanes and the ways that your supports are playing alongside them kind of stays the same in terms of personnel, how the tank plays in terms of tempo changes quite a bit, right? The Orisa wants to buy as much time as possible for those side lanes to win and just not get pushed in. Something like the Ram wants to make tempo-based pushes with those DPS in order to kind of time their space making. And I think that's a good kind of shift to something that feels a little bit more up LeftRightGnight's alley.
A little bit of pot shot from Zomba. Quick show of the Widowmaker. Right back onto the Sojourn. Bonzi Buddies on the attack. We're going to see LeftRightGnight rotate back over towards the hotel. Couple still left on the high ground, more importantly, Vision, before regrouping with the rest of the team. He should not be caught out there. Dangerous moment for Zomba, but the health pack is going to bail them out. Now Zeb meeting on the low ground. Going back and forth here, but LeftRightGnight making sure not to give away too much. Unfortunately, Luke Mino is going to be the one on that first blood again. This off angle taken by Zomba. Massive value, massive ways that Bonzi Buddies just can continue to throw the haymakers at LeftRightGnight.
Yeah, I really hate beating up on any individual player, but like these deaths in flex support have gotta not be happening right about now. I know you're getting pushed in, I know there's not much space to deal with, and maybe they can get a fight back with Vision getting a pick here, but it's really all for naught. All they're gonna get to have is a choke to defend coming into point B, which certainly is valuable, but they were probably gonna have it either way.
Exactly. And I mean, 5 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock for Bonzi Buddies. So much time to work with, to get past this choke point, to get to point B, feeling like everything in their favor. And it's all just on the efforts of Zomba finding that early initial pick so quickly into the moments of these fights. Now Tap, they're being a little sneaky, but they've been found out. I think they got to know they're there. Yeah, they do. Oh my goodness. Okay.
He rocked up and gave him the beans. Oh my god. It never gets old. It never gets old. It's alright. It's just like 10-15 seconds off the clock for Bonzi Buddies. Not a big hit.
No, okay.
That is
alright. Vision's just lining them up one after another. A little quiet here. We've been talking about Hanzo, but hey, Sojourn. Why not?
It's not just the Hanzo you look out for with Vision on the field. At any point in time, Vision can become the single most clutch player in the entirety of Tier 2, and Kings Row is his domain, so you better watch out. The Kitsune rush in is an engagement for Bonzi.
The Kitsune rush delayed out just a smidge by that ice wall. Icy switching over to Nemesis form, making sure to survive in an immortality field as just that little bit of extra safety net. The Terror Surge is happening. Patient from Zeb, and the patience pays off. Stuck inside of there, low on health. They're going to be hunted down, stuck inside of the pub. Vision is just tearing through them one after another. A duplicate from Tep on the Mei, and we're seeing a battle of the Ice Queens. Just stuck there, though. What's going on?
It's changed into a tiny Overwatch lobby. This is no longer Berry Blast. Welcome to the game browser. Tap able to clean up a couple, and it looks like Bonzi Buddies off the back of the closer spawns that they were privy to. are going to pick up a little bit more here.
Yeah, they're getting the steam, they're gaining the momentum. LeftRightGnight has the reinforcements. And what's even scarier, I think here! My God almighty.
Bro, stop it. That's
a
mean.
Freaking door. It's all they need.
Yeah, Vision's wild, but this fight isn't over yet is the crazy thing. Bonzi Buddies have continually managed to pull these back. They're going to use a sound barrier to try to do so. They need to turn this into engage, but I don't think they can. LeftRightGnight are going to make out a dodge. Lethal goes down, but it's certainly not the end of things.
Yeah, that lethal wall that did come up saved Vision's life, looking at how close they were at death's door, but being denied that. Icy so very close to the annihilation. In comes another one of these very valuable immortality fields, and they are living to tell the tales to be able to take this fight back into Bonzi Buddy's face, and even more so scaring them away for the moment.
Vision again, I mean, just being a freak. 8 elims. 8 elims to their name. I mean, next closest, I think Tap has like 5, but like, how many of those 8 are solo kills for Vision right now? Ridiculous stat line from the Sojourn, and Icy's happy to see it happen. Another Kitsune Rush engage out of Bonzi. How to LeftRightGnight respond?
Oh, they're so hungry. Vision wants to get rid of Tap. But with this Otter's Kitsune Rush, they're getting closer and closer to that point B. LeftRightGnight is just going to let it fizzle away, though, and let them capture that space. They need to be cognizant, though, here from the Terra Surge that Zeb has. And neither side ready to give up this ground, ready to give up anything. An amplification matrix now being expended. Bonzi Buddy scattering to the wind all over the place, making sure not to group up and give LeftRightGnight any easy pickoffs here.
It's all about the timing with something like this sound barrier. It is a trump card, but as is the Blizzard. Terra Surge probably going to be used in the back line here. Zeb chucks it down. Sound barrier still available. Lep holds it just a moment too late. Lethal and Luke Mino go down while Lep flies through the air, trying desperately to get that sound gun hitting the ground, but it just can't in time. Icy out of desperation will pop an annihilation, but it just wasn't to be had. Bonzi Buddies careen onto the third point of this map with wind in their sails.
Just feels like Bonzi Buddies know when to press the gas, know when to break off. And whenever they make and enact these plans, LeftRightGnight has no answer, no way to stop them.
There's not many ways to stop them right now. An overclock into overclock sound barrier and Kitsune Rush? I mean, good luck, Vision. You're going to need a miracle.
Miracles abound, and Zomba's going to be the one to see if they can start things rolling here for the Bonzi Buddies. May be able to find a pickoff here. Not quite yet, but they are getting so much in meterage. About to round the corner, Bonzi Buddies with that Kitsune Rush. Gonna have to fight against Vision, but now being denied that with the Averting's sound barrier. And they're not even gonna try and fight this. They're just gonna hide. Just play it safe.
They have no reason. I mean, it's overclock sound barrier for just sound barrier. They can re-engage with the KR, and now they're at an advantage state.
Look at this, Kitsune Rush. Go right into it. Bonzi Buddies emboldened once more. And how can you not be when Zomba is the one who's getting rid of tanks like they're made of paper mache? Zeb slowed down a little bit by the ice wall and the amplification matrix to give them pause, but this tank feels like they don't miss until Vision with the amplification matrix railgun shot removes them and then gets Averting's there, saving the day for LeftRightGnight and giving them much needed breathing room.
I love watching Vision just run over teams, but oh my god, we need something that isn't Vision winning these fights right now for LeftRightGnight, because the ultimate economy still a little bit shaky. They'll have a sound barrier advantage coming into this. I think by time for that Blizzard, they have potential to win. Bonzi Buddies, how do they want to play? Zeb's been so aggressive with these Terra Surges thus far. Do they take it and try to use that duplicate to try and buy more sustain over top of them, dupe that Mei, and get in on the back line after the Terra Surge has been dropped? Or do they want to try and wait out something like that sound barrier, bait it out with the Terra Surge, and then try to go in?
So many decisions. Tap deciding to go ahead, pop the duplicate, build up towards that annihilation, and then you have Zeb on the other end of the map with that Terra Surge. Left's winning out in the duel against their mirror matchup with Avertings, and now things falling apart for Bonzi Buddy. So close to the finish line. Zomba having to pop the overclock, seeing if there's an opening, a way that they can bring Bonzi Buddies to where they need to go. But LeftRightGnight has other plans for them.
Hell of a way to fight out of a corner for LeftRightGnight. No space to work with, no real timing. The Terra Surge being such a threat, and they managed to win a fight, 2 ultimates for 3 off the back of it. The Blizzard and the sound barrier used to perfection. by Lethal and Lep, and that leaves them with a pretty stark advantage in this fight. 3-on-1 ultimates. Our Bonzi Buddy's gonna find their way in with just 14 seconds. There's so much zoning, the Amplification Matrix, the Annihilation. You just can't walk in against that.
It's gonna be so difficult, and you only have that Kitsune Rush in your pocket. Otters going to try and give the team they're in, try to give Bonzi Buddies a chance, but like you said, here's the Amplification Matrix. Bonzi Buddies is playing so dangerously with time, but Zeb had no other choice but to get up close and personal, and that is going to cost them their life, and that is going to cost Bonzi Buddies this point C.
I mean,
what a
that
roll
really,
from LeftRightGnight.
they really started to pull it together there at the end. The last minute and a half, 2 minutes of that was really convincing from LeftRightGnight, coming in with effective fight plans, ready to counter a lot of the aggressive pushes that Zeb was making. The walls started to become really critical at shutting down that Orisa as well. It looks a lot better than just the Vision show that it was for the first kind of 2/3 of that map. Not to take any credit from Vision, but let's take a look at these stats. 9,000 damage. Next closest is 7k from Zomba and Zeb. You understand just how much work that's being put in. On top of that, 16 elims. And again, probably half of those are solo kills, which is a freakish statistic to put up when you consider the next highest person in the lobby is Tap. And those 12, you know those aren't solo elims. Those are doing a lot of damage, beaming people down after they're already half health kills. Not take credit away, it's good gameplay, but what Vision is doing is remarkable on this Sojourn right now.
It's unreal. It's sending a shockwave through Bonzi Buddies. No other way that it could be. Quick tech pause coming in, but my word, what a way this King's Row has been going. Bonzi Buddies started off so strong, Door, right? You think about that initial capture of point A and then translating it into point B, but it felt like with every subsequent point, LeftRightGnight was just getting more and more powerful. They were getting the, I guess, Vision buff, I suppose.
Well, now we're in for something pretty interesting. We avert our eyes away from Vision. And let's take a look at Lethal and Tap, who have gentlemen'd onto an Echo 1v1 right about now. I am excited to see this. It's not what you expect on this map a lot of the time, but they just want to duke it out and give it the...
Handshakes
Oh no,
exchange.
Lethal swaps back to the Mei! Cringe. Alright, never mind. But I guess I can't be that mad. The Mei was really good. And it was also extremely critical to that point C hold they're pulling out earlier. Now as they approach A, it's all about this high ground. I'm actually surprised to see Bonzi Buddies play this as compact as they are, not trying to compete for the high ground that Vision's currently on, instead giving it up, which is a very strong vantage point overlooking this point.
It's just free. It's easy pick. Oh no, Tap.
Oh,
You
Tap is so
better
screwed.
count your lucky stars if you get out of here alive. They
Wow.
do somehow, by a force of nature, a very fortunate moment from them to still be able to go here. But now it's just going to go right into another moment. Abertines gets Vision off the high ground, but they see their prey. They see their target. They're out for blood, and they get that and more. Continuing this roll, one after another falls in front of them. Others may have gotten rid of Vision, but really at that point, point is LeftRightGnight's.
Yeah, and you see how difficult it is to play once you've given that high ground up. Bonzi Buddy spent the entire fight trying to compete for it with the Lucio Echo, and neither of them were really ever able to take the space back from that initial push. LeftRightGnight now get themselves a point. Do they get a choke here is the question. I think they do. It's going to take too long for Zeb to get back. A little bit of a race here. You see Lep on the cart, working the way through the choke point, and they've got it. LeftRightGnight are now playing kind of with house money here in terms of that first corner. They can play up, they can disengage all the way back to that choke. A lot of options are available.
Oh yeah, it's nowhere near over for Bonzi Buddies, but we're looking at a similar time bank that LeftRightGnight gave to Bonzi Buddies in the previous round. Get out of here, Vision! Please! Alright, Zomba. Gonna put forth some of their own effort, and now we have a blizzard. Zeb trying to find safety inside of the pub, but it is just becoming a brawl inside of there. No one living, no one surviving. And it looked like Bonzi Buddies had it in the palm of their hands, but it all goes away.
Yeah, still a little bit of fight left in Bonzi Buddies. They're going to try and go for a duplicate here, but I'm not sure how much they can actually get done. If it buys enough time for Zeb to come back, it will have been worth it. They get out, tap dropped low, forced out of the duplicate. LeftRightGnight try to engage with tempo, but they don't have it. There's still 3 ultimates on the back of this, though, for either side. The sound barriers look to send it long, but either Sojourn could cut it short.
They really can. Zomba's gonna be the first one to put forth the effort. Left answers in kind with the sound barrier. And it is Zeb who, thinking the Terror Surge could keep them safe, good enough when Vision is all them, when Vision is looking towards you. Now we have a Ramatra annihilating, but meets their annihilation towards Zomba. Bonzi buddies, how much in the tank to stop LeftRightGnight?
Quite a bit. I mean, they have a full surround on the cart. If they collapse, it could be deadly, but without Zomba, this push has no teeth. It's going to be a point C to the name of LeftRightGnight, and with 5 minutes on the clock, this is a daunting hold if I have ever seen one for Bonzi buddies. Not to mention the fact they've given up a couple kills, so even that first corner can't be held. It's going to be a 1.5 fight point at best for them, and one in which the ultimate economy is pretty even between these two teams.
Otters and Tap overstayed their welcome for far too long, and who better to remind them of that than Vision themselves, who still has this overclock. And a reminder, LeftRightGnight does not need to go all of the way. Vision proclaiming at the top of their lungs, this ends now. Zeb stuck at the ice wall. The fates aligning for LeftRightGnight, and it's so close to the golden gates of victory. Otters,
I think Jover might be the word we're looking for. And then they Kitsune rush to buy time, and it's just perfectly disengaged by LeftRightGnight. And Otters is dead. Yeah, no. This one's on ice. Pun intended here. Lethal on the May is connected to killing blow. Zeb, good is dead here. And Matrix to buy space. You still got so many tools to find your way through. Zomba can try as they may, but King's Row belongs to LeftRightGnight. And let's be real with ourselves, King's Row still is under the reign of Vision.
Unreal. LeftRightGnight. They took a blow, a massive blow in that first map, but who better than play the game by Vision? This has just been a massive
This is a freak of nature.
It was a massive turnaround for LeftRightGnight, and it really just felt like, sure, we're singing the praises of Vision all the time, but the way that LeftRightGnight enabled Vision to be able to take so much of this and capitalizing on the mistakes of Bonzi buddies, it's no wonder we're looking at a 1-1 scoreline between these two teams. These grand finals, Door, this is what we wanted. This is what we were waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, this deserves to go the distance. Let's be real with ourselves. There certainly is a lot in this match, and it's not one that I expected at any point LeftRightGnight to just kind of like roll over and die in. It's a team with so much experience, with so much hero pool available to them on top of that experience, that even after a map 1, they can bring something completely different to the table 5 different times. They can try and fit a square peg into a round hole a bunch of times because Bonzi buddies are going to continually offer up this one composition, and LeftRightGnight kind of have the perfect setup to try a lot of different things, and King's Row clearly found the equation to that formula. The question is, can Bonzi buddies figure out what works for them in a map number 3?
Well, we're going to figure out if they can make that happen after a short break. But don't go anywhere, chat, because, you know, we're at a 1-1 scoreline, a 1-3. We go into our next game mode of push. One of these teams is going to go ahead and on to series point. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barry Community Blast Encore Tournament. So, Dor, we've been having a crazy time talking about the insanity that has been Kings Row, but especially the significant efforts of Vision, right? We were doing some caster math, we were doing some statistics in the background, but what's been going on here, right? I got to rely on you here.
I mean, Vision just used like domain expansion, railgun hell, and put them through the blender, if you will. That is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, y'all. That is almost definitely a deadlift. 20 final blows is a freakish stat to pull out in a game like this. One that your team wasn't even winning for like at least a solid like 40%. Like that push coming in from the other side was pretty steamrolly for some time on the other side. Bonzi were able to get quite a bit done, but I mean, Vision just did the thing. There's no other way to put it. What an absurd map. How long can you keep that up? I don't know. I've seen some really incredible things out of Vision. I don't know if you can keep that up for 5 maps straight. That's going to be a big question to ask, and I do think the team has kind of stepped up. The Vision popping off did fuel them. They started playing a lot better, and then they were able to start enabling Vision, which made it kind of an even scarier package all in all. But whether that continues as we head over to Esperanza is the question.
That is the question. You know, even talking about what they accomplished in Kings Row, that was kind of a compact time to be able to do it as well. It didn't go the whole distance. We got the early end of that map from LeftRightGnight, and so now we set our eyes towards Esperanza, the push map that kind of takes away a lot of the high ground from the teams and sans the early initial push of the bot. And now you're kind of looking towards how are they going to be able to manipulate as best they can with the areas that they have. It's not to say that there isn't any high ground, but the maneuverability of these teams are going to be brought into question. And I wouldn't be surprised if we still see that Orisa look that we've had time and time again from the Bonzi buddies, and LeftRightGnight really showing out in force with that Ramatra composition. that really was spearheaded by Vision.
Yeah. This feels like a comfort map pick for Bonzi, and I think that's the right way to go because like I was talking about earlier, LeftRightGnight are extremely flexible in what they can bring to the table here. I mean, we've seen Junker Queen played a lot here. Ramattra we know can be played here. We could just go back to the Orisa Mirror if we're really feeling like it. Icy, of course, has a very notable monkey that, like I said, they've picked up over numbers of metas and tons of scrim hours that could come out here. I don't suspect it will. But the world is really LeftRightGnight's oyster, and I don't think there was really a map counter pick for Bonzi buddies to go for here. Instead, they just pick what they think they're good at, and Esperanza's going to be that. LeftRightGnight rock back out on the Ramattra composition, though, trying to bring the same kind of fight to Bonzi buddies, this time offering up a different look from Tap. It feels like that's the case on virtually every map, as Tap is just kind of this flex player, Echo, Genji, Mei, whatever it may be. Tap's bringing it to the table. I'm curious to see exactly what this Genji can get done and kind of what the point is for it. It might be to try and just keep Vision in check, make sure those flank angles aren't as strong for Vision, trying to get off and look for picks like they were on King's Row. The Blade's certainly going to bring a lot as well.
Map number 3 is now upon us, a tied scoreline between LeftRightGnight and Bonzi buddies. Taking this map will put you in the lead and on to series point in this first to 3 grand finals. Bonzi buddies are going to be the one to dance around the actual bot itself. LeftRightGnight hanging closer more towards the clock tower. Not much meterage to be gained here, just a smidge, so don't be fooled by Bonzi buddies taking the lead. This battle is still only just getting started, and it's kind of just a poke moment between these two teams.
Initial poke. Again, it's a tempo game for LeftRightGnight. They push when they have Nemesis form, and they will hold back while they don't. So Bonzi buddies do get that initial space off just the kind of ability of that Orisa, but that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Vision goes for the off angle. Tab calls it out with that dash from the Genji. Exactly why Bonzi buddies drafted this Genji into the composition to begin with, and now Icy's just getting put in a locker by Zeb. Not enough damage to really keep that Orisa away, and it means the high ground now belongs to Bonzi buddies along with the point.
Icy's gonna try and fight it out for just a little bit longer, but as he said, point high ground needed to be acquiesced, but the recovery is here. Vision has regrouped with the rest of the team. Well, until just then, Abertings had another idea of that in their head, but through the efforts of Icy strengthening onto Otters, the bot is going to be pushed into the other direction. Bonzi buddies, it feels like we just swapped sides.
Such a weird fight. I mean, they made that dive into the backline, and in doing so, ignored the Ramattra Lucio behind them. Maybe not worth the gamble that they did, but nevertheless, they've got plenty of ultimates to fire back with. The Blizzard looks to put a pin in things, does manage to find enough to trade 2 for 2, but this fight is far from over. DPS alive, and this is where it comes down to mechanics. How much can Zomba get done before this cart is eventually taken hold of by that Ramattra?
Ooh, and lethal on the back in the last second. Otters thought they were in safety, but an icicle in the face is going to give them a different meaning of the world of hurt. Bonzi buddies falter, LeftRightGnight starting to push, and is going to be able to take the lead here.
Push starts, no overextension, unlike what we saw from Bonzi buddies, but Bonzi buddies have a lot to use. Overclock chucked onto the high ground, looking to, oh my god, this is brutal! Oh my god, what is this wall? Zomba got put in a locker! What do? Now a sound barrier engaged, Kitsune Rush used to counter, but it's almost helpless in the face of a sped up Ramattra Annihilation running down Zomba after he was already put down. Next up is the tank, but this is a dominant fight from LeftRightGnight.
You call it right there. Zomba thinking that they were going to be able to get away with an overclock, swing things back for Bonzi buddies. Nah, one wall is all it takes. And the way that it was, the layout of that wall denied an overclock completely and then run down by Icy in an annihilation. That's a horror story.
Yeah, phenomenal tempo play from LeftRightGnight. I love that they confidently threw down that sound barrier. That's the big thing for me. They kept the momentum in their favor, and now they win the point for it. They're already up on the high ground, ready to go. Tap threatening a blade over top of the likes of LeftRightGnight, but they're not buying it. They still take hold of this high ground and are unwilling to back up.
You're going to try to do whatever you can here, but now Tap, given the Dragon Blade, needs to pop the quick deflect. No more to be
Nothing.
given from that. Just going to hide out in the corner rather than wanting to risk their life, waiting for the rest of the team to make their move here. And it's vital that nobody falls. They need to stop the roll of LeftRightGnight in its tracks before it goes any further. But even with some of these losses that LeftRightGnight is happening, Vision and Luke Mino are putting the capes on and becoming the heroes for this team to put Bonzi Buddies back in the spawn room.
It's a small thing, but that Lucio trade was so good for LeftRightGnight. Bonzi Buddies, they're pushing and pushing and pushing, and they knew that they were going to have the sound barrier soon, but then the Lucios get traded, and Avertings is sent back to spawn with 95% of a beat, and all of a sudden, they're just overextended without a sound barrier, without a raft to hold on to. Now we're 100 meters into this map, and yeah, Zomba's doing something with an overclock here to turn it around, but the damage has been done. The damage has been done, Sam.
The damage has been done. At least Zomba is doing some damage of their own, but I mean 112 meters by LeftRightGnight. That is a disaster scenario for any team. And Bonzi Buddies are going to have so much ahead of them to try and meet this meterage. They need to string together so many team fights in a row.
First of which is coming up here in a second. Arissa trying to claim the high ground. LeftRightGnight take precedence. Tap. What an angle is going on here. Who are we trying to stick? What's happening?
Cool.
All right, just a decent little angle to work with. The beam can start working on the health bar of Icy. Instead, they decide not to use anything, and they'll be rewarded massively for this. Okay, Bonzi Buddies, yes, they're winning the fight, but let's take stock of what just got used. That was the Kitsune Rush and the Terra Surge from Zeb. LeftRightGnight are going to be rolling in ultimates now. And for what? For like 10 more meters on this card? Like, that's so worth it.
LeftRightGnight smiling from ear to ear. Still have Annihilation, Amp Matrix, Beat, and Blizzard about to come online. Avertings has to time this out
be a
so
good beat,
correctly.
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Avertings has so much in the form of timing to be able to make sure that they survive to go for another fight, but it doesn't even really matter because Luke Mino starts things right off. First blood on Arters. Get rid of this Kiriko. Get rid of any hopes and dreams here for Bonzi Buddies.
It would be insane to try and sound barrier engage this fight from Avertings, and they're not going to. Yeah, Bonzi Buddies know they have to call it there, but oh my god, does it hurt to lose a fight to just Amplification Matrix in a moment like this where you already have the ultimate economy virtually completely lost. Tap will get picked off late, and again, these slow picks are brutal because that's where the time bank really starts to go, but nevertheless, the situation just as dire as it was about 30 seconds ago, except now the robot's in an even worse place.
LeftRightGnight giving us a strong reminder of why they have been undefeated in this entire tournament, going through the upper bracket, going through the group stages. Undeniable in their approach and how they've been dismantling Bonzi Buddies on this push map. They still have the 3 ultimates to work with. Tap on an off angle though. Left wasn't ready for this and may be able to get Luke Mino. They've at least drawn out the immortality field, and so this could give Bonzi Buddies a way to fight back. Tap. Phenomenal work here in getting rid of both of the supports, and now LeftRightGnight either needs to fall or get out quick.
Yeah, I mean, pretty measured stuff from LeftRightGnight and Bonzi Buddies, all things considered. Good first pick by Bonzi Buddies. It's exactly what you want to see. There's a lot of time being bought on the card, I'm not going to lie. This has been like 20 seconds off the clock. Okay, we're good. But neither team actually used an ultimate in the engagement, which is, I think, overall good for Bonzi Buddies, who are now pretty much even in this 5-ult versus, or 4-ult versus 4-ult, 5-ult versus 4-ult fight that's going to be coming up here in a second. They'll definitely get the point. But this one, I mean, this is going to be a kitchen sink fight, Sam. There is so much on the table. It's hard to predict exactly how they're going to use it, but I think the one thing we can be certain of is that Bonzi Buddies want to try and use this high ground to its fullest extent to find an advantage state in this fight. LeftRightGnight are trying to circumvent that with the flank, but they've been found out.
Oh, Luke Mino hunted down again, and Bonzi Buddy still gets to hold on to the smattering of ultimates, and even more valuable, getting rid of the sound barrier from Left. Now to turn their attention onto Icy, the 2 Ramantras trying to strong arm on top of each other, but Icy can't get anything from this, holding their arms to their face, denying themselves anything in the form of fighting back against Bonzi Buddies. But still though, LeftRightGnight is pushing into their faces.
What a stellar Boop. Let flies in off the top rope. Boops that pick out. Tap forced into the vision of Vision. And now it's a disadvantage state for Bonzi Buddies, who again just get lost in the sauce. LeftRightGnight are so good in those disorganized little brawls, those 2-on-2s, those 3-on-3s, the little flanks that they're pulling off to enable those. turns the card around, and more importantly, takes time off the clock, takes the wind out of Bonzi Buddy's sails. Now an amplification matrix to deny any sort of Kitsune Rush engagement that may come out is going to make it very dangerous for them to step forward, and Tap finds out exactly why.
Perfect positioning from Vision to take full advantage of the amplification matrix and get that charged up railgun shot on top of it. Unfortunately, they couldn't stand toe-to-toe with Zomba, but really you're looking at who the impact frag was, and Bonzi Buddy's going to be suffering without that Kiriko. Lethal putting up a wall trying to stop Zeb in their tracks, and then a Blizzard is just going to be the cherry on top of this Orisa ice cream sundae. LeftRightGnight chomping through Bonzi Buddies.
And they've stabilized as well, following a pretty harsh engagement where they did lose a player. LeftRightGnight are back up to all 5, and look at this, they're gonna back up, they're gonna play high ground. Oh, this is just mean. This is why Esperanza is so difficult. The second one team gets that point, breaks through that choke, they can use this high ground to its fullest extent and lock you from going anywhere. And you see just how hard Tap's trying to work these off angles, just how hard Zomba's trying to push up the center, but it's so dangerous.
And look at Icy. They're just hiding out inside of this corner with their barrier up. They're going to be even more further sustained by the left sound barrier. Zomba was on the ground, but Lethal is not going to give them anything more than that. Thankfully for Bonzi Buddies, the stabilization coming in the form of just getting rid of LeftRightGnight. But we're brought into overtime, Door. There is no second chances for Bonzi Buddies.
Okay, how do you want to play this next engagement? You've got so little time, and so much is on the line here. Match point is at stake. Zeb's played so aggressive with these Terra Surges the entire time, but as of late, they've been too aggressive. LeftRightGnight have seen it coming and called them out virtually every time they've used that ultimate. They need to be more measured with it. Not get caught out in the back line. Use it to peel for those teammates that are getting dove, that are getting hit by the flanks from LeftRightGnight. LeftRightGnight are just going to try and zone off the point. Use the Annihilation. Use the Blizzard to make sure Bonzi Buddies can't touch.
Still 40 meters to go. Otters is going to start things off
and
here.
They're out. Disengaged. They're gone. Like bandits. Look at that.
Pull them away from here. Give them no opportunities to find success off of the back of that Kitsune rush. LeftRightGnight giving up a little bit to be able to gain so much more. They know they have so much to be able to work with here. Zeb is going to be forced to stay down on the ground away from the rest of the team. You've got to be careful of Vision, because now they're in overclock with an amplification matrix right there. A quick Terra Surge, but they fall. No more tanks on the field. Vision is alive. Vision is hungry, and Vision wants to see LeftRightGnight in series points.
And so much gets done here on the back of just principled Overwatch from LeftRightGnight. They're going to be able to finish it off here, almost certainly. Icy comes back on a Doomfist. This is taking an awkward amount of time, but I'm almost certain that they'll manage to clean this one up, and they do. But so much in it, in the seeds were sown, but 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago, actually, from LeftRightGnight. You look at the fight in which they walled off that Sojourn ultimate and were able to tempo off of it so well. You look at the fight in which the sound barrier was disallowed by the fact that Avertings got traded for Lep early on in the fight, one that LeftRightGnight opted into. They knew how well timed it was for them, and they were able to take up so much more distance off the back of that, and then leverage that into the advantage that was trying to play from the high ground time and time again, forcing the opposing side to come through those choke points and spend ultimates to do so. The second those fights that were won earlier gave them that ultimate economy advantage, LeftRightGnight maintained it and rode it through the entire rest of the map. And it's not easy to do that consistently. Esperanza certainly is one of the maps that I think enables it very well to be done, but it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of very cool veins to be able to do that and not panic press ultimates and not try to win every single fight. There was fights like the one in which we talked about Bonzi Buddies using Terra Surge and Overclock to win, and LeftRightGnight, yeah, they lost, but they didn't spend a single thing. And it's stuff like that, calls like that experience like LeftRightGnight have are going to be able to give you.
And then when you even think further for LeftRightGnight, they had such a generous meterage bank, right? Over 100 meters in like the first 2 minutes of the game, first 3 minutes of the game. And then at that point, you can force Bonzi Buddies on your playing field and how you want to play around them. You can make those kind of calls because you know you have that safety net to re-engage back on them. And even more impressive for LeftRightGnight is how much they made Bonzi Buddies pay for it in blood time and time again. For every single team fight that they thought they won, LeftRightGnight would come back and immediately answer with a massive force of their own.
And I think this is kind of when you talk about like the difference between really experienced like tier 2 players and people coming in who have the mechanical ability, who have the ability to be great, but don't quite have that same level of experience, is that diligence. Bonzi buddies came in, they're playing good composition, they're playing it coordinated. Yes, they're coming in with good fight plans. Yes, LeftRightGnight start really putting that experience to the test, and that focus level that they're able to keep up consistently. They're able to communicate not just through the initial part of the fight, not just through the part where the fight plan ends, but despite losing players, are able to pull things back, are able to find re-engagements, are able to find small flanks, are able to leverage small advantages into ones that can turn a fight despite being a player down. And Bonzi were having a really tough time closing out those fights for that reason. And it's got to take some more of that coordination, not just the initial fight plan, not just the execution on that fight plan, but being able to see and feel your way out through the very end of it. That's going to get you over the line here against a team like LeftRightGnight. You've got to be able to see it all the way through.
And now we even get more of an insight of what's been going on with this map on the stats line. You look towards Vision, right, who had a phenomenal Kings Row performance, and now a little bit more quiet on Esperanza, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The very final moments of the game, they pop the overclock and they just go nuts. And LeftRightGnight taking full advantage of that. And even with what Bonzi buddies were able to accomplish in the form of these elimination, in the form of some of these final blows, it's just like what we've been saying. That's all right. LeftRightGnight's okay with that. It's them being able to stand firm and stand tall on the other side of these team fights that they lose, and then come back on and then capitalize during these low moments where Bonzi buddies didn't really have anything to fight back with. Again, it's a reason why LeftRightGnight made it all the way to the grand finals undefeated.
Yeah, and again, that experience is what you're talking about with the roster like this. That's exactly what they bring to the table. I want to give so much credit to specifically Luke Mino, and Icy, who I think really turned around. Icy was already playing, of course, that consistent Icy gameplay that we expect, but Luke Mino has stopped dying first, right?
Yes,
Lep was playing
yes.
phenomenally in pocketing specifically either the Sojourn or the Ramatra and choosing right pretty much every single time. And then Icy, I think, was at the critical juncture in choosing when to fight that Orisa and when to circumvent her. Look for those flanks with the Ramatra, look to power past the Orisa with the Lucio and enable more of those backline trades that they were winning consistently time after time after time again. It's really sick to see, but I don't think Bonzi are out of it yet. They're a team that has come up through this lower bracket. They've played better and better and better teams as they've gone on, and every single time they've dropped maps. They've taken hits, but they've been able to adapt and come through. My question is, how far can this risk competition actually adapt? What more can they change about their gameplay and their play style to try and stop those backline trades that are coming out, to try and stop those picks that are coming through and those messier fights that LRG are trying to create?
We're going to be looking towards Route 66 here, Dor, if they have that answer. Our escort map coming up here very shortly. Bonzi buddies, all on the line here for them. If LeftRightGnight is able to close things out, we are looking at our new Barry Community Blast Encore Grand Champions. Route 66, though, is an interesting one in my perspective here, Dor, with the way that Bonzi buddies likes to play on this Orisa composition. If they get pushed off of that high ground, it's going to be really tough for them to be able to regain control of that. And what we've seen here out of LeftRightGnight, they are phenomenal at being able to gain control of that high ground and then like having a chokehold on it. Bonzi buddies struggled to be able to get that time and time again. And you look, sure, you may be saying that, all right, well, Icy's down on the ground below everyone else, but the rest of the team is on the high ground, taking shots and taking names, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real piece of the puzzle that we're missing here is that the map pool just kind of really not great for Bonzi buddies here. I mean, Route 66 is like, I think they picked probably their best option. On the other side of that is like Dorado, okay, dive map. You don't want to play Icy on that map when he can play, when Icy can bring out the diva. Icy goes from like somebody who can like just play against all the best players to like one of the best players in the role. So like that's not something you're going for. I don't know what the other picks are. It's like, it might be Gibraltar, might be like Circuit Royale, but again, you don't want to play Icy on either of those. So Route 66 it is, and it is a map that I think you can get away with some of these more recent Brawl compositions on. Is it the more traditional stuff that we see on this map? No, but the compositions are kind of flexible enough that you can get away with it, and I think that's exactly what Bonzi Buddies are going to do. Yeah, they absolutely just lock it right back in. LeftRightGnight have options if this doesn't work. If this starts to fail at all, they can look at other options in the tank role or just compositionally as a whole. But I don't think they want to. They're going to stick to what works, to what's been putting up maps for them thus far, and that's going to be this Ramattra composition, this time with a lethal Hanzo Vision Sojourn. We think about Vision with the Hanzo quite a bit, but alas, the Sojourn's been working extremely well this series for them. They'll stick to it. The swap back to the Mei, kind of unsurprising all things considered, especially considering that it's been working for them so far. There's been no answer offered up from Bonzi Buddies.
None whatsoever. But it's Bonzi Buddies. All eyes are on them. Series point for LeftRightGnight. Can Bonzi Buddies bring us to the map 5, or is this going to be the end of the run for the lower bracket gods? And one way to find out is the doors open. Early initial fight. It's like Icy a little bit off towards the side here inside of the barricades, but Zeb so dangerously low. Zomba has the first blood, however. Lep is gone, and LeftRightGnight needs to get out of there without their Lucio.
Look, Mino, good ammo, just in the nick of time. I don't know if you're out. You're not out of the woods yet. Yeah, there's the spear. Okay, we gotta let's die on cart. There we go. Reset for LeftRightGnight. Good first pick by Zomba. And that's kind of all there is to it.
It just boils down to something as simple as that at times. Icy's not going to go down without a fight, though. Zomba a casualty of that, but of course, respawn advantage for Bonzi Buddies and continuing to gain on this momentum.
Setting up for the second engagement, they will have high ground. There's no initial claim from Bonzi Buddies. They're going to stay low. Zeb does go up to the high ground, but we'll see how impermanent of a setup this is, as a lot of the damage begins to get thrown in the way of the Orisa.
Yeah, gives it up almost immediately. LeftRightGnight on top of Big Earls, looking down at the peons below, seeing whomever they can take out. Lethal spraying with the ice. A beautiful wall comes up. Zeb needed to use the javelin spin to keep themselves up as best as they can. Gold form, pick up the health pack, the protection Suzu from Otters at the last second. It couldn't have been more than a pixel, a tiniest of windows. Lethal locks the head right off of Otters from their Kitsune rush. They were still able to get it off, but Bonzi Buddies are not going to find anything off the back of that ultimate. Instead, they're just finding death incarnate.
Yeah. Sick reaction by LeftRightGnight. Even without the pick onto Otters, they disengaged that KR, which they've been doing the entire series extremely well, but they did it extremely well again. And of course, a pick is not unwelcome. Now with ultimates to boot, they're going to have quite a bit of control from this high ground. How do Bonzi Buddies actually want to push in here with no access?
Zomba saw everything that was going on up there, decided, nah, I'm good. Do a little poke damage, but does have that overclock. This is going to be a massive one. It's going to have to be a massive one. Sees Lethal right here, but the ice block is going to protect them for now. Luke Mino dropping to the grounds below. Does not want to be that first blood again. Zeb, this ice wall has been their nemesis, it feels like. And now Left using the sound barrier. Bonzi Buddies is going to have to respond with one of their own. And it looks like, again, Zomba is the one to stand tall. We're going to have to weather through a blizzard and now an annihilation from Icy. Really not gaining much space here from LeftRightGnight, just trying to survive the Bonzi Buddies onslaught, but it's becoming more and more difficult. The trades are happening back and forth, but Icy is being bullied on the point and no one to bail them out.
And the big thing here is that Vision went down with overclock. Vision was looking for the angle, but credit to Avertings was monitoring the off angles that Vision could come from and went to check it at the perfect time. Now lost without a tank. LeftRightGnight have got to find a way back into this, and I just don't think it's going to happen with the KR on the field.
Bonzi Buddies. Backs against the wall, but they are punching hard. Able to take point A, still 3 minutes on the clock, and now looking to gain even more space on top of that. Pushed off of the high ground for the moment. LeftRightGnight is still unstabilized. They're still trying to find the moment to regroup together as a team and plant their feet on the ground.
I mean, the nice part about it is at least they do have a not insignificant ultimate advantage. 2 ultimates and an amplification matrix potentially from the high ground here to be used by Luke Mino and Vision is a very scary threat. One that Bonzi Buddies are very aware of its existence.
They're not getting caught out as much by this ice wall either. Rotate around, make sure to find safety. The important part is for Zeb, who has been consistently suffering from that ice wall, to not fall from it. Is it going to end now? Well, yes, it is, but for Vision instead. Not what they were wanting. Zomba is ready to go toe-to-toe against their doppelganger, but again, these walls working so dangerously against them. Thankfully, Zeb has the get-out-of-jail-free card for the Bonzi buddies, and now just needs to wipe up the rest of these stragglers.
A lot of time being still taken off the clock for what was meant to be a pretty short. Are they going to get out of here? Oh my god, they got out.
Wow.
What the hell? How did that happen?
Okay.
Okay. Bonzi buddies decide they don't want to spend ultimates, which is pretty reasonable, but LeftRightGnight are going to be back, and they have quite a few ultimates. This fight is going to be a mess. Whoever ends up on the high ground, though, is likely to be the victor.
Bonzi Buddies has the ultimate spectacular. We are going to be watching a field blow up and colorful 4K, it feels like. Now Zomba with an overclock, hopefully to get more out of it than Vision did. Shield denying them a little bit of that presence up on the high ground, a little bit more from that ice wall, but again, denying so much. That immortality field now being used, and here is the Kitsune Rush, a blizzard to try and slow the roll of Bonzi Buddies. Again with these freezing them out, but it's stuck inside. And beautiful ultimates, the tap. Oh, okay, all right, just a quick look at each other. Yeah, leave lethal there for a second. All right, Bonzi Buddies, point B.
I messed up a little stagger at the end. I think Lep got the sound barrier canceled by an Orisa Spear from Zeb. I could be wrong here, but I didn't see the shields come over. I might just be blind, it happens, but if it did, big play from Zeb there to deny the sustain from LeftRightGnight. Now lethal over to the Hanzo. A lot of damage coming from a long range. Icy's job now really shifts, and it's one that Icy's been doing kind of this entire time, but that's just living. For a really long time, Icy hasn't been able to dive the backline the same way they were on Esperanza, but now they can utilize that just living quite a bit more with characters that can play at range like the Hanzo.
Get out of here, Tap. Vision has had enough of you. And Bonzi Buddies, right, they're gonna take the L for now. Wait for their Genji to come back, Tap getting off of the Echo, and then go for another fight.
Icy holding on to an Annihilation. Again, the Annihilation, a tool that just kind of gives them a lot more sustain in these fights. Yeah, you're going to get held away, but it just keeps you alive. And the game plan here isn't to kill people with your tank. It's to buy time for those snipers to get picks, just like Lethal has right there. Oh, blessed, though. Icy's still getting quite a bit of work done.
It's fish in a barrel, it feels like, right now for LeftRightGnight. Keep them all entrapped in this one corridor and start blasting away. Vision and a headshot. Name a more perfect duo.
Has an overclock. We might see a few more. So don't count your chickens quite yet. It's a scary fight. But as is this one from Bonzi Buddies. Overclock, Terror Surge, Kitsune Rush. Pretty scary opportunities to try and push with. If LeftRightGnight can manage to survive long enough to get that sound barrier online, though, they're going to have a massive trump card.
Zomba, an overclock, but they need to meet it against an amplification matrix. And that's going to be good enough to completely deny Zomba the chance to find ahead from LeftRightGnight. LeftRightGnight is still operating with 3 ultimates of their own. Here's the Kitsune Rush with the Terror Surge, but nobody caught inside of it, and even forced away from this by the Dragon Strike. You don't like to see that in the kill feed. The Sonar Arrow headshot. Jeez, get out of here, Bonzi Buddies. Shame from LeftRightGnight.
That's rough. Rough death for Otters. Now they got to try and find a touch here in 10 seconds into the face of an overclock from Vision. Pretty scary setup if you ask me, but there's a lot of dive here. LeftRightGnight's backline has to be pretty careful. They don't give up too much. Icy needs to play patiently. Wait for those first picks to come in. The health bar already down to half. Lukemino trying to keep it up. Vision holding the card close to the chest, but they can't play so careful. The blade and the sound barrier are almost up for Bonzi.
It's in overtime. Bonzi Buddies needs every single advantage they can get, but more importantly, every single meter they can grab. But now Vision is ready to stop things in its tracks, but it's going to become so much more difficult with the sound barrier. But look at how LeftRightGnight is skirting around the blade and the barrier. Icy's not going to be able to survive from that, though. Zomba, unreal in how they skirt around this, even with the amplification matrix up. Bonzi Buddies is tearing LeftRightGnight apart, and the puzzle, the pieces are all falling into place for this team.
It's not been often that we see a small misstep like that, choosing to be so passive against a team that's on the verge of very critical ultimates. Now the LeftRightGnight still have tools, Annihilation, Sound Barrier, Dragon, all going to be chucked at this point in a desperate attempt to stop this cart. Pulse Bomb lurking, it connects, but it's onto a Tracer, Recall's available. The Immortality Field is used also though, that's so many tools down.
And nobody is able to touch the point from Bonzi Buddies. So eager to meet them at the spawn room door. Overtime has ticked away. Bonzi Buddies so close to that finish line. But close is not their door. And now LeftRightGnight has their win condition.
I feel like we're really glancing over what was maybe a pretty brutal C9 there, but I digress. that was like at least 4 people up, but yeah, still, you know, who needs it? Who needs it? Who needs it? Just hold the other team. Simple as that. LeftRightGnight now. Oh, we get a replay on it. Okay, that's one off. Was the Orisa was I guess just not alive here. Oh, he's forced off, but okay, yeah, it's not a scene. It's just forced off by the Ramattra. I rescind my call.
Tap nevertheless, tried to get close. Tap was almost there.
I mean, you're zoned away by Ramattra. Doesn't count if it's not like completely objective of the other team, you know? Anyways, Bonzi Buddies now set to try and match that defense. Pretty tall ask against a team like LeftRightGnight who have so much going for them, so much behind them. If Vision just connects 1 or 2 of those shots, it sometimes feels like that'll snowball into the entire map, and that's the scary part. You can't ever let LeftRightGnight find an advantage because they will take it and they will turn it into the entire series like they look to do now. It is match point on the line, and Bonzi Buddies must get a stop on Route 66.
And they want to take this engagement close. They want to get into the face of LeftRightGnight. Cohesive unit. Looking to grab as much time as they possibly can. LeftRightGnight, Vision swaps over to the Sojourn. Battle ensuing in here, but a well-placed disruption shot. And then you're also kind of stopping Zeb with that ice block. It's just free. It's feeling like it's just free here for LeftRightGnight, even more so Vision.
Remember what I was talking about? All it takes is 1 shot from Vision. And all of a sudden the map flips on its head. Look at the ultimate charge. That's the big thing I'm watching. Lethal has 75% of a duplicate, which in this economy, pretty scary. A duped Mei, a duped Kiriko makes a massive difference in a fight like this. And I'd imagine a lot of that ult charge was farmed off the Orisa, who took a boatload of damage in that initial engagement.
And it took so long for Zeb to get out of there, right? There wasn't really much that they could do outside of that. Quick focusing beam, and Zeb is just feeding the ultimate charge for Lethal. 5% more to go, and this is going to be a massive tool in the pocket for LeftRightGnight. Bonzi Buddies still holding firmly onto the high ground, but the card is getting closer and closer to its first destination of this point A. Bonzi Buddies going to meet down on the ground very shortly here, but Otters has that Kitsune Rush. They haven't found the value out of it just yet. That we've been looking towards what this Kiriko can give to the team.
A full wrap is the game plan from LeftRightGnight. They want to play aggressively with this dupe the Orisa, catch the players falling down from that high ground. Lethal tries, but finds not much connection. No Fortify available either. That Orisa's going to get blown up immediately, but the high ground now belongs to LeftRightGnight. They don't need to push that cart if they can just slowly pick you apart from this vantage point.
Keep them away. LeftRightGnight not overstepping their boundaries. And again, we're seeing both of these teams. It feels like the sides are being flipped. An amplification matrix being used to see where these picks can be had. But now Vision ready to meet this team on the ground. A beautiful spear. Vision saved just in the nick of time by the left sound barrier. But they are the focus target. They are the one who needs to be gotten rid of. And LeftRightGnight is doing their job perfectly. Bonzi Buddies are going to fall, and point A is LeftRightGnight's.
That's a lep gap if I've ever seen one. What a sound barrier timing. Just saves Lethal, buys like 4 seconds of better beat timing on Everdings, which ends up flipping the health bars pretty much entirety. By the time the beat wore away, Bonzi Buddies were already sitting down at about a third each. It does mean quite a few ultimates were spent though. An ultimate advantage for Bonzi Buddies. How far can they take it is the question. This is something that we've seen LeftRightGnight do time and time again. If you give them this 3 ultimate advantage, they'll ride it out through the end of the map. Bonzi Buddies have not been so deliberate in their ultimate spending. They've been a little bit more likely to run into situations like this where they don't quite spend in time or they get picked off on the way. This cart's going to keep moving off the back of Luke Mino and Vision tag teaming up on that high ground.
Just a hard wall. And Bonzi Buddies just keeps throwing themselves at. what else can you do here? The silver lining, they hold on to these ultimates, but you gotta look at the big picture, LeftRightGnight, and all that they've been able to accomplish and how much further they're continuing to go.
I mean, this is the difficulty of the Orisa composition that they're running. The Kiriko, not quite as much high ground claim as something like the Baptiste with the Sojourn. Of course, the Echo as well goes up there. The Mei has, like, no retort to what's happening. It's a numbers game, and they've got more of them up on the vantage point. Overclock, we pop to try and claim it, but I think this is far from the end of the fight. Duplicate to stay alive for Lethal. Still a lot of tools, and Bonzi buddies are playing it slow, wisely so.
And LeftRightGnight manipulating around the overclock as best they can. Natural cover being given to them. Lethal. Duplicate on the Orisa. Not quite finding much of what they were looking for here, but Bonzi buddies very patient in the usage of these ultimates. You're looking towards Zomba being able to capitalize on kills like this, and just they have. Lep is gone. LeftRightGnight still trying to gain as much space as they possibly can. It's always going to be vision to try and find those shots, and now they've been giving an overclock. We are looking at potential demon on the field. They see their targets down on the ground below, but on Bonzi buddies making sure to give nothing more to this player than what they've already gotten, and they've done just that.
Some uncharacteristically missed shots from Vision. I want to be honest, that's not one you see often. And an overclock from pretty much a golden position doesn't come up with anything for LeftRightGnight. Now, though, they look to lay claim to their high ground yet again, and again, there's no response from Bonzi buddies. You see how they just have to play on this low ground and, like, try their best. A Mei wall up to the high ground, yeah, you get them up here for now, but, like, so they're going to have to drop eventually. I don't know how permanent this setup is. It's cool. Is it permanent? I'm genuinely not sure. I'm not doubting it, but I'm not 100% sure how long they can actually stay up here.
They've been able to hold on for a little bit now. So like you said, how much longer is that going to last?
There we go.
All it takes is Lethal. It's a couple of stickies, and Zeb is down, meeting Icy eye to eye on this payload. Looking at the ultimates that both of these teams have, these sound barriers are going to be the deciding factor with just a minute on the clock. LeftRightGnight so very close. It's a pick for a pick.
Oh!
But the loss of Avertings for Bonzi buddies is going to be so difficult. They've lost that maneuverability, and it's just being able to be chewed through. Icy now inside of the Annihilation. Zeb isn't even able to Terra Surge into the ground. The triple cap from Icy to take point B for LeftRightGnight. Now the final stretch begins.
Yeah, the willingness to get in there, chucking that sound barrier, make sure they get the point. It does leave them stranded without a support ultimate, or at least a defensive one, for this final point. You take a look at this engagement. Yeah, there's nothing stopping Icy. You're just on the warpath at this point. The warpath to the end of a series, to the end of a Berry Blast Encore that could very well belong to LeftRightGnight in less than 2 minutes.
Zomba all over the place, but nobody from LeftRightGnight wants to fight this overclock, because why should they? Look at how early, look at how much space they still contend with here. Of course, you're looking at LeftRightGnight being the ones on the attack, but it feels like they're trying to defend against Bonzi buddies in their back line. Looking back and forth, Bonzi buddies in a very tricky position if they don't win here. Now we have Lethal on the Sojourn themselves, forcing out a sound barrier from Avertings. Neither side really able to gain the advantage just yet. Ultimate's being expended, but finally, both of the tanks are gone, and now we're looking towards the DPS and support line to make something happen here. It's Bonzi buddies skirting so dangerously close to death. Lethal comes out of Sojourn, back onto Echo, and is already doing their dirty work.
This is so much better for LeftRightGnight in this situation. Without the tank, this map flip doesn't work. You need the Orisa to live in that choke point and basically dare LeftRightGnight to try and push past her. But once that Orisa dies, they can just, like, force you to the choke point. No other character can live in that choke point like the Orisa can. And thusly, they're forced off into maybe 1.5 fight territory. Better ultimates for LeftRightGnight. A sound barrier advantage. If Lep can land this one, force a good engagement out of it, allow Luke Mino the space to get full capitalization off this amplification matrix, they're going to put themselves in a phenomenal position to take this whole thing.
This is still anyone's game, but things are looking so much better for LeftRightGnight. If you need Lethal to hunt someone down, they will find their target. A Kitsune rush to potentially end this game, and Tap is going to follow it up with the Blizzard. No one is frozen, though. They skirt away to safety just in the nick of time with 5 seconds on the clock. LeftRightGnight has an overclock, the sound barrier, and an annihilation. It was like you said, it was so close to right there. Vision is here. Vision is ready to bring a world of hurt, and the payload is right there at the very end. Left, right, good night. The perfect run through ending on a grand finals. Your Barry Community Blast Encore Grand Champions.
And what a display it was. Time after time, again, dominating Bonzi, but the second they figured out the equation, they never let go, and Bonzi, but they just couldn't find an answer. They just couldn't find an answer to LeftRightGnight. The dominance, the icy coming out on the Ramatra, looking incredible. I think this is a crown that, again, they've deserved for so long. You look at every other player on this roster, and they are well decorated. Icy has picked up wins here and there, but I think in terms of getting a really big one in such a challenging tournament with so many teams and so many incredible players floating about, I think this is definitely one of the crowning achievements for Icy right now, and I am so happy to see it happen because he was such a critical piece to that team coming together at the end, not to mention the other four bringing that experience to the table, doing exactly what they do, and playing throughout the entire series, not just playing to win maps, but playing to win the whole thing, adapting, focusing, staying on pretty much the entire time, never once losing sight of the ball.
An immaculate showing, LeftRightGnight, proving to us all just the coordination, the way in how they understand the game of Overwatch and bringing them all of the way through. The accolades that are being sung here for all of these players and crowning achievements, especially when we're looking towards a new horizon of Overwatch esports just around the bend. This is something that you can bring to yourself when you are starting to step into it. And even if they aren't together as a team, you still have that knowledge, you still have that aspect in the back of your pocket. Congratulations to both teams, though. Bonzi Buddies, massive props to them for getting knocked down in the very first round here of the playoffs and then running all the way through the lower bracket to meet LeftRightGnight in the grand finals. Bonzi Buddies didn't have an easy journey themselves. The lower bracket filled with some very, very scary opponents. But it's a LeftRightGnight victory and a LeftRightGnight Grand Champion title that they get to hold on to. Dor, it has been a phenomenal couple of weekends.
Yeah, and I think this is something not just for like LeftRightGnight, congratulations, but like the entire community can really rally around events like this. Huge shout out to everybody who's helped put it on so far. And it's not quite over yet. When we get back from the break, we're going to talk to one of your winners with a quick interview.
What is a grand finals without being able to talk with one of the grand champions themselves? And we've managed to grab none other than the tank themselves, Icy. Icy, welcome, my friend, first of all, and a big congratulations, my friend. How is the team feeling right now?
Thanks. We all feel pretty good. I'm sure all the players are pretty tired from last couple nights, and they all want to eat their food and do their things, so they get to relax now.
Yeah, I mean, how's that win feel for you guys against a team that was making the lower bracket run? Were you watching that? Did they seem formidable before the matchup? How did your expectations kind of match up to the reality once you got in?
We weren't too worried. They were in our group stage, like before we went into the bracket phase, and the game was fairly easy, and I don't think we did any scouting or anything. I think Lep just checked what they were playing for yesterday's matches, and we just went from there.
Yeah. And well, I guess that's also another question to ask here, because that first map, New Junk City, it was still a really close one, but eventually came out in favor of Bonzi Buddies. Was that ever a pause for concern there? Or was it just like, you know, shaking off, everybody getting warmed up and getting ready to play some Overwatch?
We're used to losing the first map. So basically how we picked the map was because Vision's mother messaged him to go New Junk City, so we went New Junk City.
The mom nerf, the mother nerf.
Yeah, and then we picked our comp based off. I think God came down and talked to Vision to go Bastion and ignore all of us for that comp swap.
Yeah, that worked for all of about 2 fights, and then it was.
I don't even know if it worked for 2 fights. But
you got the one like grenade ant matrix clip, and then that was about the highlights ending there. But I do want to ask, outside of the Bastion, how'd the Orisa one feel? Because Zeb has kind of been on top of this tournament in terms of some of the best Orisa play that we were getting to see, and you're someone who I've kind of always identified as being able to, regardless of the tank, pretty much anything in the tank pool, you're able to match up with people and at least go even with. And it seems like that continued to be the case, even though the first map wasn't quite a win. How was the Orisa 1v1 for you?
Yeah, I think I only got to play it on the first map, which obviously we had like a little bit of an interesting comp, but I would have liked to play it for more. I think Orisa is really good right now, but we wanted to go to more of like a Ram-centric comp, which is like completely fine by me. I just asked, what was the reason
for that shift? What did you identify in particular that made you choose Ram over everything else that I know you guys kind of have in your toolbox?
Ram is really good on like defense for some maps, specifically like Kings. You can hold chokes a lot easier and have a lot better like team play off your teammates more, whereas Orisa is more of like an individual character. Personally, I think Orisa's better almost all the time, but my team wanted me to go Ram, just like help them out more, so we just decided to go Ram.
I like that team play though. And you know, speaking together of this team play, you guys had a perfect run through here in the Barry Community Blast Encore tournament. Was this something that surprised the team? Was it something that was just like, all right, another day in the office for us, we're here to take names and we're here to win tournaments?
It was pretty expected. All of our players are like at the top of their game. Literally every single player on my team is, I want to say, top 3 in their role, like easily. Just very, very strong players. We were very excited to play against the RuPaul Hawk, Seeker, the Timeless team, I think. But obviously we didn't get to play them. And then the Landon team would have been fun to play too, but we didn't play them either, which was a little bit unfortunate. So our ride was a little bit easy.
Yeah. I mean, with 40 teams, you're bound to not get the matchups, unfortunately. But there was a lot of pretty insane matchups. And I think I hear you talking about your teammates being like top 3 in their roles pretty much across the board, and I think I definitely concur with that. But I think we need to start talking about you with a little bit more respect, Icy, because what you've done is come into a tournament where every team is playing 2 tank players kind of across the board. And what we've always talked about in Tier 2 in contenders has been your flexibility, has been your ability to pick up virtually any tank, put tons of scrim hours in, and be one of the most dedicated to learning it. You went through that entire bracket. You've played everything under the sun. We've seen the Orisa, we saw the Diva a bit. We, of course, get to see the Sigma on circuit and stuff like that. We've seen the Ramatra dominate. Do you start to consider yourself as one of those hyper flexible players? And where do you put yourself in that regard? Because to me, it's beyond impressive to see one person be able to match up against some of the best on particular heroes on their hero across an entire role.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for at the start of Overwatch 2, where I just wanted to learn everything. I know.
I mean, I remember your Winston days, the Winston hours of. Yeah.
Yeah. I started out a little bit slow, and I was regarded as like pretty bad early on, just because I was learning some characters. But I finally hit the point where I'm pretty good on most things. I'm glad you can say that. I appreciate it. But yeah, I just try to be that player that can play whatever the team needs and just like be the best tank for my team, to be honest. For this team, it was pretty easy because they're all amazing players. But obviously, if I have slightly worse teammates or something, I'll have to do a little more, flex a little more, maybe start one-tricking a certain character to be like the best at it. But for these types of teams, I just get to flex everything. It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you just need that rock that can play everything, that can match, that can guarantee you an even tank matchup. And then you have players like Vision, who, dear God, what did you feed Vision before that King's Row?
It is Wheaties or something.
Who can pop off and just play off that consistent tank play? But yeah, just run me through King's Row real quick, and we'll give you a little victory lap on the way out.
Yeah, I don't know. We just stopped trolling after the first map, and we just decided to play Kings. We just got off to like a rough start. We just knew we could just play our game and dominate. I mean, Vision, I don't think we didn't have a specific game plan for him. It's just his genius. He wants to kill everyone. He kills everyone.
I mean, the stats were like, I think it was like 75% of final blows, something like really stupid. It's been a minute. Like I'm used to the Vision on King's Row thing happening, but that was certainly it taken to its extreme. Either way, it was sick to see you guys turn it around, and you did carry that momentum throughout the entire series, which means that you're now the Berry Blast Encore champion. Congratulations, Icy, and congratulations, of course, to all of LeftRightGnight.
Thank you.
All right, and well, hey, before we let you go though, Icy, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, actually. I want to, first of all, shout out my entire team, all the players and staff. We have Big L as our coach, and we have Era as our manager, and we have Sadist and Goose helping out doing things. I'm sure I'm missing people, but this tournament will be the last tournament we play in as LeftRightGnight. So yeah, a little bit bittersweet, but I just want to say thank you to all my teammates, Lep, Luke, just an amazing backline. Overall, both of them individually are just amazing players, and same goes with the DPS line. Lethal is just incredibly talented, very smart player, and Vision just hits insane shots. So
Vision never misses. Well, at least we got to see LeftRightGnight go out on a high note, and we're excited to see wherever you all go and end up, especially in this new vision of Overwatch esports.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead, chat, and give one big clap out here, though, for Icy and for LeftRightGnight, your Barry Community Blast Encore Grand Champions Door. It's been an insane time. It's been an insane weekend. Just a lot of upsets, a lot of impressive run-throughs, and I couldn't have imagined anything better to start off this new era.
No, I mean, it's weird when you watch esports the way that I do, when like marshmallows are usually stuffed your cheeks, or you're like casting with fish. But it was nice to just get on a regular broadcast at the end. It was a great surprise to be brought on today and have the absolute pleasure of being able to do something like this. But it was fantastic. Thank y'all, chat, for showing up. Sam, you've done absolutely wonderful. Anything you want to say before we let him go?
Listen, I just want to say, everyone, it has been an honor to watch these games, to be able to cast over these games, and to be brought on to talk about what Overwatch is all about. A game of hope, a game of looking to the future and looking towards what we can do to make it better. It's the calling card, I think, that all of us should be looking forward to. And Door, I'm excited, and I'm ready to go into that future.
Yeah, let's do it. Again, huge shout out, Jangwa, Open, everybody on the production team, all of the admin staff. You're all amazing. We love you all. Chat, we love you too, but we will see you whenever the next community event is. I'm sure we'll be there, and I'm sure you guys will be too. But until then, you guys have a wonderful night.